But welcome to the show. Appreciate you guys for joining me once again. Thank you for hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel. My name's Brian. This is Blunt Politics. Thank you guys so much for being here. Obviously, your patience, the people that didn't get to join last night in our first regularly scheduled programming back since our trip to Ukraine. Thank you. Very much appreciated for you guys, giving me the space and the time to, pop on live when I had the chance. And obviously, like I said, not doing the regularly scheduled programming. We have a lot more video and pictures and stuff to get through from the trip. I think a few people yesterday may have been a little surprised that I came out of the box firing. I don't know why. I mean, if you watched this show before, I think you know my personality. You know how how I do things. So, I had spent 2 weeks not being able to get my opinions and frustrations out on the show like normal. So I had a lot of pent up things that I had wanted to get out. You know what I mean? A lot of things going on with Ukraine, a lot of things going on with the war in Iran, obviously here domestically. So there was a lot that I had on my chest. So if I came out firing a little hot and a little heavy yesterday, I'm not going to apologize, but I will explain to you exactly why that was a thing. But thank you so much. I shouldn't be muted anymore, so my apologies on that one. Thank you, guys. I don't know what the hell happened there. I don't know what was going on, but thank you. Thank you to Sarah for kicking it off in the right way. I still don't know what the jewels are. But I very much appreciate them. I sure as hell do. So, Sarah, thank you so much for the 100 jewels and a big high five to you. Thank you so much. We have a lot to talk about, lot to discuss. Obviously, today being Friday, July 31st, 2026. We're going to, like the title of the show today, says, we're going to discuss Donald Trump's rapidly failing health and how the MAGA cult is dead. Now, that doesn't mean that the MAGA cult does not exist, much like when Joseph Goebbels and, the rest of the people in Hitler's bunker knew that the National Socialist movement was dead. They were still following Hitler, right? They were still side by side. They were still spewing the propaganda. But the National Socialist movement had no more speed. It had no more fire. It had no more power. It had no more ability to do anything. That didn't mean it wasn't there, but it was dead. So the MAGA movement, as you and I know it, is dead right now. I am declaring the MAGA movement dead, deceased. It is gone. And we're going to explain a little bit of what I think and my opinions about that tonight in the show. So if you could hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, I very much would appreciate that. Let's bring in the chat here so I can say hi to you guys. You guys make this show go. And you guys deserve the screen time as always. What's going on, Dustin? How are you, brother? What's happening, people? What's up, Roxanne? What's up, Sammy? Thank you so much for watching. What's going on, everybody? What's up, Yakov? Hope your back's doing all right, brother. Hope you're okay. What's up, 9H Nails? What's happening? What's up, Ellen? Appreciate you guys. What's up, Tiff, DPD, Lisa? Thank you so much to Namaste, Ellen, everybody that's in the chat that makes this show possible. Very much appreciate it. What's up, Jeff? What's going on, people? What's up, Madeline? How are you? Appreciate you guys. So hit that like button. Frisky, everybody, Tina, the whole gang's here. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 25,000 subscribers here at Blunt Politics before the midterm elections. Again, we want the most powerful voice on the internet as humanly possible. And unfortunately, that seems to only come where you build your subscriber base. So that's what we're trying to do. We are an independent channel here, though. We try to do things the right way. We have no financial backers. There are no ad reads. I don't sell you any green juice or mattresses that are going to say that I changed my life or anything like that. There's no, link here and use this code for this or that. None of it. We have the Venmo, which is up in the corner. We have the Patreon. We have YouTube memberships. We have the merch. And that's about it. It's your generosity, your support, your appreciation for this channel and channels just like it that continue to make this thing a possibility. It is your generosity and consistency with the fundraisers that we are involved in and engaged in, with things that we're passionate about that make those things possible, that made this whole, trip to Ukraine to go over there and handing over these vehicles a possibility. So shout out to you guys. Very much appreciative of the community that we've built here and everything that you guys have added to it. CSL, what's up, my brother? What's happening, dude? Good to see you in the chat. Good to see you in the chat. What's up, Deborah, over there on Facebook? I see you, Tracy, over there on Facebook as well. Shout out to everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Substack. We're live on all of them. So if you can hit that thumbs up, subscribe, hit the follow button, whatever you have to do on that particular platform, that would be great. We're going to be discussing, like I said, Donald Trump's declining health. We're going to be looking at a little bit of, and in case you're not like heavily involved in politics, in case you're just maybe catching this show on the fly or it just happened to pop up in front of you, stick around, because even the people that are heavily involved in politics may not really recognize just how far gone Donald Trump is cognitively, just how much of a disastrous, dangerous moment we're in having this guy in charge of the armed forces as commander in chief. We'll be taking a look at that. And then there's a few clips here about, like I said, how the MAGA movement is dead. You could make an argument that the MAGA movement died the moment they lost Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson. And I think that's an argument that you could make, but I think it's very much official at this point. It has no more legs. The cult is the cult, but the MAGA as a movement is dead. So we got that. Sean Strickland was on with Sean Ryan. We've taken a look at Sean Ryan's clips a couple times here, but just the way in which Sean Strickland was talking about, again, a piece of shit himself, a bigoted, homophobe, all of the things we have to say, even espoused in this exact interview. But still, the way he speaks about Donald Trump and the way that he speaks about other people speaking about Donald Trump, and then it being confirmed and kind of backed up by people like Sean Ryan, add that in with the Marjorie Taylor Greenes, the Tucker Carlsons, and everybody else has kind of, seen the light more recently with the lies and the propaganda. You start to add that up and it starts building a very strong case as to why the MAGA movement is no longer. So then we got some updates coming from Ukraine. We got Professor Gertis has an update on some of the strikes ongoing from the last 24 to 48 hours. And then I want to pull up a Preston Stewart video, which kind of reiterates what I was talking about yesterday as it pertained to the threat of the 2-week escalatory war that the admiral has been putting in front of Donald Trump as far as a plan, compared to the simultaneous reporting of our THAAD and Patriot missile interceptors being at the levels that they are. So that's to come later on in the show. And then, like I said, I got a ton more video and photos from my trip that I'm sure you guys will be interested in. So hit that like. I appreciate you guys very, very much. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to the mods. Appreciate you no matter where you're watching, no matter what you guys do. How you participate, it is appreciated, and I am very, very grateful for you guys. So let's jump into it. What do you say? I'm going to take a look at. We'll start off with this one. We'll start off with what I was just kind of talking about. Let me share this screen, throw this on there. Get this up on your screen because it's not on mine. Here it is. There we go. All right. So there's just a less than 4-minute clip here that we're going to go through. That's kind of making its rounds here, but I think it's very enlightening, right? I think it's very, very telling as to the strength again of the MAGA movement right now, or the lack thereof there is. So I just want to go through a couple minutes of this. Again, this is Sean Strickland, UFC fighter. You'll probably recognize him or remember the name, or the name will sound familiar from being banned from the recent UFC fights at the White House because of his views and his stance against Donald Trump and the Epstein files and the things that he was saying about that. Again, this is not to give him any flowers, much like we use Marjorie Taylor Greene's words against MAGA to our political benefit, much like we use, the death of Lindsey Graham, and the Russian sanctions bill that's come from that to our political expediency, to our political benefit, Tucker Carlson, the list goes on. I do remind you that our tent is big on this side, but it sure as fuck ain't this big. So again, this is in no way to lend credibility to anything behind what Sean Strickland is standing for or does stand for, but definitely the way that he speaks about the internal movements, his view of what a Trump rally is like, and people people in Texas, I think he brings up, and how he's speaking about Donald Trump and others speak about Donald Trump. Like, people are even the ones that were heavily, deeply invested in the MAGA cult, are coming to see that this is a bad person, that they have been lied to. They ate the shit up, and whether or not they even knew that beforehand, or again, they were just really caught up in the bullshit is another conversation in and of itself. But, at least a lot of them now are recognizing how detrimental Donald Trump has been in his second term, how much he lied about the things that he was going to come in and do. Like, we all saw this years ago. rightfully so, because you guys in the chat are smart. You're aware. You're paying attention. You knew who Donald Trump was well before he even got into politics, and you didn't let the bullshit, persuade you in any other direction, right? So credit where credit is due to everybody else. But, this is these meatheads, these meatballs that have taken, quite a few shots in the head. let's just be blunt. And them just now starting to finally recognize just how much bullshit they've been fed. You know what I mean? So again, let's just take a look at a couple minutes of this. And then after, we got this one, which is another, kind of representation of the MAGA movement and where it's going. And I put a post on Blue Sky earlier today that said along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing, like, the moment in which the fascists, the pedophiles, the autocrats, and not only that, but the pundits and politicians that prop these people up start getting publicly mocked, ridiculed, thrown out of town, fired, when they start facing, dire consequences for their actions, this is the moment in which that I know that America is starting to rebuild. I'm not saying that is the turning point. I'm not saying that says that we're heading in the right direction or have accomplished a ton or enough to push us in the right direction. But that's at least the moment when I will recognize that this country can be saved. Okay, this country will be okay. I don't know how long it's going to take, but that's the moment, and I'm waiting for it. And this is kind of like the beginnings of that, right? The oranges, if we're Donald Trump. Of this whole movement, because Vivek went on and he lasted about 14 minutes at whatever speaking engagement this was, and he was heckled and berated. People in the audience were lashing out at him, and then at the end of it, he kind of throws one back in everybody's face because of his wealth, and says that basically he and all the capitalists surrounding him that have made their money on the backs of the working class people in this country are going to be okay. And that really didn't sit well with the audience there. So we'll go over that in just a second. But here's the sit down between Sean Strickland and Sean Ryan. It says, your browser has lost connection. Why would it all of a sudden lose connection? All right, hold on. Let me go back. I'll exit out real quick, and then we'll get back into that. I don't want to start that in case you guys can't hear it. Give me a sec. Bear with, and we back in action. All right, here we go. So again, let's pop into this and see what Sean Strickland has to say. And I do want to remind everybody what an absolute piece of shit this guy is, what an absolute piece of trash he is. And he very much showed that in different parts of this exact interview. So this is just, one section that people are picking out in which he's very correct or very openly speaking about, Trump rallies and how he views them. And then, the conversations that he's had with other people about Donald Trump. And then you can obviously see Sean Ryan's kind of confirmation on that and, his reaction to that as well. So let's just see if we can hop into this. A couple minutes. Like I said, it's less than 4 minutes long. We don't have to spend too long on it, but here we go.
It is kind of crazy, dude, how mainstream how unpopular Trump is. Because I'll go to places like I'm in Florida. I met a Texas guy. Like when we're talking about like hardcore Republicans. And
like it wasn't that long ago that people were starting to recognize that somehow in his second term or just before his second term, but when he started to run, like it started to become mainstream to like Donald Trump, right? When all these like the college frat videos were coming out of them doing the fucking double jerk dance and wearing the, the blue suit with the red tie or whatever the hell with the red MAGA hat. Like there was a point not that long ago where it was becoming dangerously mainstream to like Donald Trump. And as surprising that was to everybody, I'm sure in the audience, based upon, what he was responsible for in his first term, the death, destruction, COVID, everything that we could talk about, the 33,000 lies, all of it, even the things that we knew before he got into public office, even before he became president the first time, was very surprising, right? It was, January 6th. Like we thought that was going to be the end, or a lot of us hoped that would be kind of the nail in the coffin, so to speak, of Donald Trump, his political movement, MAGA as a whole. You had people like Lindsey Graham saying they were out, some others that were kind of, saying that they were out of the movement, but were pressured back in. They were followed around and hunted down in airports and, berated on social media to the point where they kind of caved and ultimately found themselves back in the coattails of Donald Trump, propagandizing the whole MAGA movement once again. But, it's now becoming mainstream, as he's saying here. And again, he's probably hanging out with a lot more people that are favorable to the Republicans, conservatives, and Donald Trump as a whole than either of us, or any of us, I should say. So for him to say that it's now mainstream to not like Donald Trump, and again, this is brought upon a lot due to the Epstein files and the debacle of the way that they've handled that and promising all the answers. It's all Democrats on there, Bill Clinton, and then all of a sudden people start to recognize and realize that maybe there's a lot more in there about Donald Trump and his friendship and relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and what he knows than we were originally led to believe, and it's not just Bill Clinton and it's not just all Democrats. Maybe that's why he's calling it a hoax. Maybe that's why he's pressuring Pam Bondi and the DOJ and everybody else in the FBI to withhold these and to redact everything they possibly can and to get multiple agents working night after night after night to redact anything that had to do with Donald Trump's name in relation to the Epstein files, to the point where it's now been reported, I think, that Donald Trump's been reported or is reported in the Epstein files more than Jeffrey Epstein is, definitely more than Jesus is listed in the Bible, things, crazy statistics like that. But, to hear him say now that it's becoming more mainstream to dislike Donald Trump, to hate Donald Trump, people that still espouse their conservative beliefs, it's just Donald Trump now that's kind of on the outs for them. This is that snowball that's only going to continue to grow in the face of Donald Trump. Like he's at the bottom of the mountain. This snowball is at the top of the mountain, and it's just now starting to get going. And as it continues down the mountain, it's going to be bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it finally smacks Donald Trump in the face. And then you see the inevitable downfall in people, as I predict, starting to lash out at Donald Trump, even if they were heavily involved in the cult, much like we've seen from Tucker, Marjorie Taylor Greene, et cetera, et cetera.
Even these guys are like, I can't do any more Trump. I feel fucking betrayed. And like Trump, to me, everyone's like I was talking to this like really wealthy guy about like Iran. And he was like, fuck it, whatever. I don't care. I'm like, dude, you don't care because like you're fucking you're a multimillionaire. I was like, dude, you got to think about like every other American in Florida, Texas that are making like, what is the average? Like, I think it's like $60,000. So you take somebody making $60,000 and now you add 4% inflation, a metric fuck ton of gas. You're adding thousands of dollars a year to their life. Like you are like crushing families.
And again, listen, he's taken many shots to the head. He has some ridiculous, outlandish beliefs. He has shitty political beliefs. Like I said, he's a homophobe, a bigot. He's all of the things that we could list. But he's right about what he's saying there. He's absolutely right. So he's talking to a rich guy from Texas that says he could give a shit less about what takes place with Iran. And Sean's just bringing up the point that, well, that's because you're minted. Okay. That's because you have a wealthy bank account. You have a very heavily padded bank account. Not everybody's like that. The vast majority of people in this country are living paycheck to paycheck, trying to put fucking food on the table every single night and trying to rob Peter to pay Paul to do so. So, when you add the inflation, when you add the ridiculous and egregious gas prices that have jumped because of actions that our president is directly responsible for, and every other aspect, cost of living, healthcare cost, rent, mortgage, child care, all the things, and you put that into one big pot. Like you can see why the frustrations are starting to boil up, why people are starting to talk about, the lies that Donald Trump told about how they were going to come in and all of a sudden everything is going to be half the price and half the cost and energy prices are going to be half and the wars were going to be over. And he's done the exact opposite, started all the wars. He's shit on every single one of our allies. He's fucked up trade partners. He's fucked up trade routes, right? I mean, killed God knows how many people, including what he's responsible for in his mishandling of COVID in the first term. I mean, everything is the exact opposite of what he promised. And, as delusional in many other aspects as Sean Strickland is, and we could absolutely recognize that and continue to recognize that, he's at least correct and at least touching the edges of being correct on these points that he's talking about here in this clip.
Like not me and you, we don't give a fuck. Gas could be $100 a gallon. We don't give a fuck. But it's like the people that have voted you, that rallied around you, like you actively just fucking spit in their fucking face for what, dude? And like when have you been to a Trump rally?
No.
Oh, dude, it's fucking nuts.
No.
So like when you're at a Trump rally, you're like, oh, I could definitely see how Hitler happened. Like I'm not fucking.
When you're at a Trump rally, you look around and you can say, wow, I could definitely see how Hitler happened. right? And again, people have been calling me and other people on the left hyperbolic and ridiculous and crazy for comparing Donald Trump, the MAGA movement, to Nazis, to fascists, the whole nine yards. It's crazy. You can't make the comparison. Well, not only have they proved the point many, many times, Donald Trump in particular, by literally reciting Mein Kampf, the rhetoric at large from the Republicans and conservatives about, people of color, immigrants, women, the list continues as to the comparisons that you could make, the way in which they try to, discredit the media, take over the media, threaten all of the, the intellectuals that are against them so they don't have any political opponents, right? It may not be a one-to-one. Obviously, we're in 2026. Things just don't work the way they did in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. So it's clearly not going to be a one-to-one. They're going to have to use those tactics, much like they do, in a much different way. But that's all they're doing, is using those same tactics in the 2026 lifestyle. And it's the same thing, right? They may not be, wanting to, and the ultimate goal may not be concentration camps, but guess what? We got concentration camps as a fucking result of it, right? That may not be their main aspect, their main focus, but guess what? We fucking got them. When you got the federal government going around buying, warehouses so they can house people, a lot of the times with no criminal record, held with no warrants, stolen from their jobs, courthouses, hospitals, shot in the streets because they're confused, because unmarked, people in plain clothes are rolling up on them, trying to kidnap them. In a lot of these cases, like, maybe that's not the main focus. It's a big focus. But again, maybe not the one-to-one connection, but you can definitely see the similarities. You can definitely see the byproduct of the tactics, right? Of the blueprint that they're trying to follow, which was written by Mussolini, was written by Hitler, was written by Goebbels and Himmler and Goering and the rest of these psychopaths, right? So that's why the similarities cannot be discounted in any way, shape, or form. We've played the clip, and I had a Midas Touch short that went pretty viral, I think a couple years ago at this point, where, RSBN was saying that we had to get back to the teaching styles and the education systems of Hitler, Mao, and Stalin. I didn't say that. I caught them saying that, and I put that on social media for everybody else to see, so they knew exactly what the fuck was going on. You guys have probably seen the line-by-line comparisons of Donald Trump saying that the, immigrants are vermin. They're disease-ridden parasites. They're poisoning the blood of our people. You don't just pull these fucking phrases out of your asshole in the morning and you hadn't thought about that previously, right? These don't come without the reporting from Donald Trump's ex-wife that he had a bedside table filled with Hitler's speeches or quotes from Hitler or whatever the fuck, right? So the only book he's ever read in his goddamn life just happened to have quotes and speeches by Hitler. And then when he becomes president, he wants his generals to act more like the Hitler's generals. Don't question a goddamn thing. Just blindly follow the war crime orders that you're given. That's a thing. That's a thing that he said. So the comparisons are there. So don't call me hyperbolic. Don't tell me it's hyperbole. Don't tell me I'm fucking, blowing smoke, because they continue to prove it time after time. And it's these people like Sean Strickland that are just waking up to the fact, that are just waking up to that, like, wow, there is a fucking thin line between, my love and admiration for this politician, and then the next moment you find yourself in a cult. And he's finding that out now. We all knew this and saw this from the get-go. Whether it's because, you're educated, whether or not because you're just were paying attention, or you studied World War II and saw kind of the little bits of fascism, the breadcrumbs of fascism that led up to the MAGA movements, and that's how you got into this. Doesn't matter. As long as you recognized it well before Sean Strickland, you're okay in my book. But you can see here how he's looking around and he's seeing these, like, the fucking, the all white crowd frothing at the mouth, chanting "lock her up," or yelling the N-word or whatever they may be doing, and he's just kind of recognizing that now, or he recognized this well before, and he just now feels comfortable enough to say it. Because now he's seen other people like MTG, Tucker Carlson, pick your poison, as far as people that have at least spoken up in some way against Donald Trump and the lies that he's told. He's starting to see that, and that's starting to become the popular trend, right? So people that were quiet, people that thought this in years past, but were too fucking cowardly to put it on social media or to say it to anybody else because of the backlash they knew they were going to face, possibly from Donald Trump himself. They decided to stay quiet. They decided to fucking stay in the shadows and just let this shit happen. Let people get abused. Let American citizens get shot in the streets in broad daylight. Let brown and black people get harassed and deported and beaten and, just all the time. They let that happen, but they couldn't possibly speak up against it because of the backlash that they were faced. Now, you're starting to see that crack. Like, you're starting to see the door open. We've seen and talked about for a long time the cracks in MAGA that are forming. Well, they're now wide enough where people like Sean Strickland feel it okay, right? He feels he feels the power enough to speak out against it to this point. And I'm sure he noticed this. I'm sure he recognized this. I don't know when the last time he went to a Trump rally, but the last time he did, I'm sure this is what he noticed, and he's just speaking about it now.
Joking, dude, when you go to a Trump rally, it makes you question the sanity of everybody. Like, Trump's up there talking about, like, we're going to throw people in jail for burning the flag. And I'm like, dude, I don't like, I mean, again, you shouldn't do it, but it's like, there was a fucking constitution. I'm looking at Vivek, and Vivek is just like fucking like rubbing his head. And he gets out and leaves the Trump rally. And I'm like,
I believe he's talking about, obviously, Vivek Ramaswamy, right? So, but I would kind of push back as to why Vivek, when he looked over, had his head in his hands and was running out of the Trump rally. It's probably because the crowd spotted him. It's probably because they pointed out the one or two brown or black people that happened to be in the crowd, and they decided to turn their ire against him, right? Or the crowd was turning at that point, and he didn't want to be there when ultimately they pointed him out or fingered him out in the crowd. So that's probably another reason, and that's kind of a good segue into the next clip, but I'll let him go on for a little bit. But we got Vivek Ramaswamy getting booed off the stage and kind of heckled off the stage, I believe in Ohio, if I'm not mistaken, in the next clip. So we'll take a look at that. Here's Sean Strickland continuing to go on to talk about, the realities of the Trump rally and what he saw there.
Fuck, and everybody else is just fucking full send. Yeah, fuck him, throw him in jail. Like if Trump said, go grab a gun and go do anything, they would fucking do it. They would fucking do it.
I know, it's a cult.
And have done. Okay. And did you hear the response from Sean? Let me play that one more time. I'll let him respond, then I'll go in there, because they absolutely have picked up weapons. They absolutely have picked up firearms because Donald Trump instructed them to do so. This isn't like hypothetical. Okay. This has already happened. This is history. This is reality of what's actually taken place, whether it's politicians or whether it's against our own Capitol on January 6th. This is the reality, right? He could shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue and you wouldn't lose any supporters, type of shit, right? So again, listen to Sean Ryan's response to, Sean Strickland saying if Donald Trump told him to pick up a gun, which again, I wouldn't rule out of the realm of possibility when Donald Trump finally feels the power slip from his fingers, right? When he finally recognizes that his reign over the United States and his reign of terror over the world and his ability to fucking rape, pillage, and plunder not only the United States, but all the states right now and all the nations that he's going after, trying to steal their oil, their gold, manipulating their fucking governments in order to send money into his crypto schemes or whatever the fuck now. When he finally realizes that he's going to have that no longer and he's going back to the regular fucking, decrepit old, schmuck that everybody thinks he is, I wouldn't put it past him just what he's capable of and what he thinks he's going to instruct his last remaining cult members to do, right? So, that's just my prediction, that don't rule out him doing that exact thing, right? Instructing everybody that still supports him at that time to do whatever's necessary to try to keep him in power, much like he's doing to try to steal the elections right now. The Republicans are trying to help him do so. They realize that their reign of power, because of the lies that Donald Trump has told, because of the way that the American people are recognizing and realizing the lies, and the people that are in power right now, they know that midterms isn't going to go well. So again, I don't put it past them to do anything behind the scenes, shady, illegal, to try to, if not mitigate the losses, outright steal the election in totality. And this is, drawn out in reality with the new reporting that we've seen and the new polling that shows that the Democrats are slightly favored now in order, in predictions of taking over the Senate as well. So the House and the Senate, we have to fight for tooth and nail. Okay, we have to get down and dirty. We have to make sure that we win every single possible election in both the House and the Senate that we can. Okay, because if we take both, we can make some serious changes. We can put in some serious roadblocks. We can make a serious difference. Okay, but we need the House and the Senate. So that's what we fight for here at Blunt Politics. That's why we try to continue to call out these people. We try to highlight, the best candidates that we could possibly prop up on this side, and the best ways in which that we can stop the Republicans from trying to steal the midterm elections, or at least make everybody aware of what they're doing behind the scenes to try to steal the midterm elections. So we obviously have the best outcome, and we can stop the majority of what they're trying to do, right? So again, here's the last couple minutes here of Sean Strickland describing the downfall of MAGA, basically, and the mainstreamness, we'll say, of disliking and hating Donald Trump. Now he's kind of describing what goes on at the MAGA rallies.
Like if Trump said, go grab a gun and go do anything, they would fucking do it. They would fucking do it.
I know it's a cult. It's and that's another good. That's one of the things about Christianity. You're not supposed to put. You don't put your faith in man. They will.
That's also what that's also
fucking time
about you. What I have respected you for so much is you were one of the OG thinkers, where you're just like, especially in your fucking space, you were one of the OGs. They're like, wait a minute.
And again, I think this is where they kind of, rub each other's tugs a little bit here and trying to prop each other up. Meanwhile, they were both obviously not smart enough to see this from the beginning. Both got wrapped up in this. Both, at one point or another were in the cult. At one point or another were propping up, if not Donald Trump specifically, but the entire movement. And now just on the latter half of that, when it's far too late, right? I mean, when you get no flowers, you get no props, you get no credit, you get no acceptance for now recognizing the lies that you've been telling for the last 10 plus years, the lies that you were fed and believed for the last 10 years. So this is kind of where they give each other a little circle jerk. But I think there was one more clip, if I'm not mistaken.
People did that. You were one of the biggest voices. Complete opposite.
Still tugging each other. Come on.
You would convince so many people, if the people would listen to you and advocate.
They like capture me and put chains on me so that I can never leave you. You want to make it look like I'm a part of whatever the fuck you have going on, and I'm an independent thinker. I will never do that. I will never willingly.
It's amazing. I think that's it from that clip that we have to take a look at, but it's crazy them trying to, again, not only defend their actions in following this fucking clown and falling for all his bullshit, but now trying to make, I'm an independent thinker. You could never throw me in chains. Well, that's exactly what happened. You know what I mean? You were thrown in Donald Trump's chains. You believed his bullshit. Somehow the man that was known worldwide before he got into politics somehow just was given this air of credibility, right? And just was allowed to throw away his past, whether it was the Apprentice TV show, whether it was just the frustrations in this country at that point in time. The Republicans and people that voted for him just completely whitewashed his past and everything that was known about Donald Trump and just kind of gave him a clean slate, where the slate couldn't have been any dirtier, filthier, or more illegal before he got into politics. And now they're trying to say, well, I'm an independent. No, you weren't. Obviously, you went along with the sheep. You went along with the crowd, and you got stuck in the cow pen just like everybody else. You're out of it. You're out of it now, at least to a certain aspect, right? You pretend to be, but you're speaking up against it nonetheless. But all right, Sean Strickland was referencing Vivek Ramaswamy in there. One of the times he was at a Trump rally. So that kind of leads me to this clip, and this is more just evidence in which, like I said, the MAGA movement is dead. Donald Trump's health is rapidly failing, but the MAGA movement is dead, and I will continue to say that the MAGA movement is dead. It has no legs. The MAGA movement, as you know it, is no longer. That doesn't mean there's not a cult. That doesn't mean that there aren't people out there following and will continue to follow Donald Trump and continue to prop up the Republican Party. Those are two totally different things. And again, at the beginning of the show, I said, and I will continue to reiterate, much like Joseph Goebbels, much like the people that were surrounding Hitler in the bunker at the end of World War II before he stuck the gun to the side of his mouth and put the cyanide, in his jaws, right? Like, they knew National Socialism was no longer. It was dead. That doesn't mean the cult didn't exist. There were still people drinking champagne, smoking cigarettes, doing everything they could possibly do to try to forget the realities of what they were in and following the nationalist socialist, view and policies and stuff like that. But it had no legs. It had no teeth. It couldn't do anything. We still are under threat, obviously, of Donald Trump's, delusion, his dementia, the fact that he's commander in chief and still president. Again, these are separate things. I want to make clear, very clear. But the MAGA movement, as you know it, the MAGA movement, as has stood for the last 10 or so years, is officially dead. And again, this is just the beginnings here of, I hope, the country waking up and starting to, like I said earlier, publicly mock, ridicule, heckle, berate, fucking get the oranges and the tomatoes and all that shit. When that shit starts happening, that's when I will start to have a glimmer of hope, right? Or a little more glimmer of hope, let's just say. I'm not a nihilist. I'm not someone that thinks everything is shit, but, I'll have more hope in this country that it can be rebuilt, that we do have a future the way that we want to see it. When this shit starts to happen more and more often. So let me just play this here. This is Vivek Ramaswamy, and this was the end. Like I said, this is a 14-minute clip. It didn't go really well for Vivek, but I just want to play, I think, the last 2 minutes of this, and then where he eventually kind of runs off stage. But you can hear the response from the, I believe, Ohio crowd, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sure there's people in the audience that know or are from Ohio that can tell me exactly where this is, but it doesn't go well for him. He kind of pulls out at the end of it the fact that he's wealthy, throws it in the audience's face like, I'm going to be okay no matter what, and they eventually kind of run him off the stage. But we need to see this happen more often. We need to see it happen more aggressively. We need to make sure that these people don't feel a moment's comfort. They don't know a moment's peace, and they don't know a moment where they're given any privileges or special attention, invited to events. They should be fired from their jobs. They should be run out of town on a fucking rail. Okay, every single one of these cocksuckers should be. The politicians, the pundits, and clearly the president and the people directly surrounding him that are most responsible for what's going on. They should be all run out of town. They should not know a moment's peace, and they should be fucking thinking about their actions and everything they've done for every second of the moment their heart's still beating and they still have breath in their lungs. Okay, and when that starts to happen more often, when this is something that we start showing on every single show, when no Republican, no conservative that followed the MAGA movement feels comfortable showing their face in public, that's when I know that this country's at least beginning or willing to begin its path, to its new direction. So again, let's just play the last couple minutes here, and you can hear from the crowd. You may not be able to understand the kind of what they're yelling. I think it's, like I said, Twitter and the sound sucks on it, but you can definitely tell that they're not, in the palm of Vivek's hands. You know what I mean? He's definitely struggling here to stave off the fight.
The people in this country. Is it going to be more socialism? Is it going to be more affirmative action? Is it going to be adopting the methods of the left? Or is it going to be to embrace our system of free enterprise?
So he's basically asking what the future of this country is going to look like. Again, I apologize for the poor quality of sound, but this is where I found the clip. It's up as high as I could possibly do it. But he's basically spewing, what the future of the country is going to look like. Is it going to look like a socialist nation? Is it going to look like the leftist policies? But the people in the crowd, you would think, people that were going there to hear Vivek speak, that would be a part of the conversation. That would be a part of his speech that they would be, kind of engaged with, right? They would kind of be on the side of not wanting to see a socialist or a communist and all the buzzwords that they're now using as far as that's concerned. But even during this part of the speech, they're yelling out shit, may not even pertain to what he's talking about in this moment, but they're yelling out nonsense and retorts to the things that he said earlier. They're laughing. They're really not paying attention. You can tell that they've already lost, Vivek's already lost the crowd at this point. And this is only 12 minutes into what is, I think, a 14-minute and 5-second appearance, unless there's anything cut off of this. But I do believe that the person that posted it said it was the full appearance from Vivek, but I'll let it continue here. You can tell how it kind of builds up, and his frustration grows to the point where he kind of pulls out, hypothetically or proverbially pulls out his wallet and shows everybody how much money he's got and says, "Hey, look at my dick. I'm going to be okay. I've made a ton of money." But, that really pisses the crowd off too.
Law and the founding creed of the Constitution. That choice belongs to you. It belongs to us. It belongs to we the people. And the truth of the matter is, no matter what happens in whichever direction we go, the people of my generation have already made it. We're going to be fine. It's going to be your generation that pays the price.
So he says, no matter what happens, no matter what troubles they face, the people in my generation that have already made their wealth, we're going to be okay. right? It doesn't matter. Much like Sean Strickland was saying in the last clip, I don't care if it doesn't matter to us if gas goes up to $100 a gallon. Like we're minted. We're well off. I got the money to pay for it. And it doesn't matter. Again, the people that are seemingly most willing to, go down there and crunch, pennies and shit, the rich, the elite, the billionaires that don't want to give back to society, that don't want to pay their fair share. Now, they're not worried if it's $100 a gallon. Bullshit. Okay. Bullshit. You can bet your fucking bottom dollar if it goes up to $100 a gallon, even these rich pricks are going to have a problem with that. Right. So this is him kind of, the frustration showing and saying, look, and I'm rich. I don't care. Like, I'm going to be okay. It's your generation and it's your sons and your daughters that are going to be screwed. Right. And that's what we've been saying for so long. Right. It's the rich that don't care because they're all set. Like they've stepped on enough backs, right? They've worked enough blue collar people in this country to death, to the bone, to make money for their 14th yacht, right? For their 16th fucking apartment in Soho or Manhattan or wherever the fuck down in the Caribbean somewhere. They're cool. They're set. But it's us that are going to have to pay the price. It's our kids, right? It's our friends and our family and the people that were, born into this whole situation of the impossibility of setting up what was once known as the American dream, the American lifestyle. It's just not achievable. It's not attainable at this point unless you have some, really privileged status, unless you were given some open doors like many people have been. And obviously some others, slip through the cracks as well. But, on a wider basis, a lot of people are looking at that American dream lifestyle. And that's all it is a dream at this point in time. But I'll let this play. Like I said, he kind of gets run off the stage, if you will. We don't want to hear your bullshit fucking points, says somebody in the background. So just in case you're wondering, I know it's kind of like a lot of yelling. It's probably not clear to make out what everybody's saying, but if you're curious, that's what the sentiment is. We don't want to hear your bullshit fucking points. And then you can hear people in the back like, yes, that's how I feel too. Shut the fuck up.
You're a political cretin. And you need to get
You're a political cretin, he says.
out of here.
And he says, get the fuck out of here, and you can hear the crowd cheering.
I want to hear this. I want to hear it in this room. If you believe that the government is the source of actually creating the solution to your problems, go ahead and clap your hands. You want the government to fix your problems? You want them to print money from on high and give it to you? Penalize the people.
So now he's kind of being a jerk and he's mocking and ridiculing the crowd, which is always a good idea, right? If you're trying to get the crowd back on your side, you want to mock and ridicule and kind of demean them and the things that they're very passionate about and obviously are very important to their lives. But yes, in case you're wondering, Vivek, we do rely upon the government for a lot of things to get through our daily life. Is it going to fix all of your problems? Clearly fucking not. But would it help? Right? Would it be more beneficial if the federal government decided to put funds in the proper places, if they decided to fix the roads, bridges, and railways, if they decided to invest in a healthcare system that could, be for everybody in this country? You know what I mean? Like that would be beneficial. That would help. Like we'd still have problems to deal with, personal issues, relationship issues, all of those different things that you'd still have to deal with. But it would be a big fucking help, again, with all of those different issues if you had the federal government doing what it should do. And again, the billionaire, pedophile, Epstein class paying their fair share so that the federal government could afford to do what it should be doing. You know what I mean?
You don't like, go for it. But if those of you who still believe in free enterprise, who still believe in capitalism, who still believe in actual liberty on your back, the country depends on you, and I hope for the...
Listen to the response. And again, I'm unfamiliar. I'll admit I'm unfamiliar with the YAL National Convention. Not sure what the hell that is, but they definitely were not happy or in favor of Vivek Ramaswamy speaking there, or at least the things he had to say while he was speaking there. But I think this is, again, a bigger example of the movement that is dying, right? The power, the grasp, right? The death grip that Donald Trump had on the MAGA cult, on the MAGA base, and not just the cult, right? I'm talking about the people on the fringes as well. Like the cult, as I said, will be there. It's going to be there until the end. That's a thing. That's not something that we're going to be able to stop. We're not going to be able to prevent it. They're going to get more psychotic. They're going to get more crazy. They're going to get more sycophantic, and they're going to get more propagandized, right? That's something we have to be ready for. And again, I keep going back to the Nazis surrounding Hitler in the bunker at the end of World War II, but I don't think there's a better comparison. I don't think there's a better example that you could that I could make, at least, because again, they knew National Socialism was dead. They knew the Russians were coming on one side, the Allies were coming on the other. They knew that Hitler was moving around armies that no longer existed, on maps that no longer signified what was happening in reality, right? They knew all of that. They didn't have the balls to tell him. They didn't have the balls to speak up. The generals didn't say, hey, no, that 6th Army doesn't exist anymore, dickhead, right? You can't move them to the other side of Berlin to face this Russian military, this Russian army, because they no longer exist. We expended them. They've been killed. They've been killed. You know what I mean? Like, nobody said that, but they knew everything was over. It was all lost, but they were still down there in the bunker with Hitler. And that's the same thing that's going to happen with Donald Trump in the cult, right? The very foundation of MAGA, and the people that can't even envision a world without MAGA, the way that the Nazis couldn't envision a world without National Socialism, which is, again, what leads people like Joseph and Magda Goebbels to not only poison themselves, but to poison their entire fucking family. You know what I mean? That is the sycophantic cult-like belief in the I don't even know what you'd call it, the cult, again, I guess, in the overarching way of life that they had been living for quite some time. And if the world was not going to have that or allow that to exist, then they didn't want to be existing in the world. And that's kind of the mentality that we have to be ready for from the sickest of the sick of the MAGA cult, okay? Because again, as the power slips from Donald Trump's fingers, it's also slipping from the cult's fingers as well. And they're going to react, whichever way psychotic, crazy, dementia-laden people react. You know what I mean? So you got to be aware of it. You got to be ready for it. But again, the power that Donald Trump once wielded over this entire base, their ability or his ability to have them cover up a lie or to forget, just the reality of what happened in broad daylight right in front of their face, and for him to make up an alternate reality, an alternative kind of mindset, and for them to take that route over what they saw with their own eyes, he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that ability. He doesn't have the cognitive power. He doesn't have the vocabulary. He doesn't have the stamina to again wield that power, that death grip that he had on these people, that he did to get to this position. So that's over. It's gone. Okay, his mind is gone. He's now a child in a big fat wrinkled orange suit. Okay, that's at best. And I would take the child over this guy's brain any day of the week, and twice on Sunday, still, if you gave me the option. But that's kind of what we're dealing with. And I know that's scary to think about, but it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. And I'm not, one of these people that say, hey, I can predict what day Donald Trump's actually going to leave this mortal coil. But it's pretty obvious, and it's pretty clear to everybody. It's evidence that, especially just being the age that he is, he's only got, his days are numbered, right? And as you see the cognitive and physical decline become more apparent, like that's what these people are starting to recognize. And that's why it's becoming more and more, I don't want to say mainstream, but more and more okay for people like Sean Strickland to say the things that he's saying, for Marjorie Taylor Greene to say the things that she's saying, for Tucker Carlson to say the things that he's been saying, because they know the person fighting back on the other side is not the Donald Trump of old, is not the Donald Trump of even the first term, right? It is a completely disheveled, it is a completely handcuffed, brainless, just dementia-riddled idiot that they're facing, which is why they feel that confidence, where they may have been, silent and kind of, remained in the background for all the years that they did, and why Tucker Carlson, even though in the background, as released by the text messages in the Dominion lawsuit, was talking all the shit about Donald Trump and telling everybody what he really thought, went on television every single night to do the bidding, right? To carry the water for Donald Trump. So that's kind of the shift that I think they're seeing. And what draws that, kind of drills that home is this type of thing. So as we have the reports of escalations, 2-week escalations going on in the war with Iran, that again has seen no benefit, no off ramp, nothing but death and destruction, nothing but higher gas prices, nothing but instability with the market, uncertainty with the future of the world and the planet. What's Donald Trump doing is more of this, ridiculous Hitler-like, let me look at this model of Germania. Like, this is, again, the comparisons are there. Like, okay, let me see. Okay, just give me a second. Give me 1 second. 1 second. Hitler, Speer, Germania. Okay. Now, and tell me this doesn't look exactly like what the fuck is happening right now with Donald Trump, right? He is at the end of his days just completely and utterly obsessed with dolls and fucking, what do you call them there? I don't even know. I'm forgetting the word from. What do you call the models? Sorry, I couldn't think of the word. But models and shit like that. But here, check this out. Here's Adolf Hitler and Albert Speer, right? His lead designer, his lead architect, and the armaments minister there. And just going over this huge model that I'm sure you guys have known or heard referenced in Germania, right, where he wanted to make not only his hometown of Linz, Austria, but also Berlin into the showcase, of Europe, right, with these just ridiculously big museums of all the stolen art that they had taken and confiscated from around Europe. Let's see here. There's got to be pictures of more pictures of Speer and Hitler surrounding this thing, because I know there was a ton of them. Let me see here. Here's Hitler again with a bunch of his cronies, pointing out the models and what he's going to turn Berlin into and what he wants Greater Germany to look like. Here's another one of Speer and Hitler going over the blueprints and the designs. There's another one here. Here's kind of the bigger representation of what they wanted to look like. This was like a huge fucking 3D model that Hitler spent hours and hours and hours poring over the minutia of detail. And then you look back at shit like this and you're like, well, that's not far off. Maybe it's 2026, right? That's the difference, right? What else is the difference? There's no other difference. So this is Donald Trump talking about, I believe, the new Dulles airport, if I'm not mistaken. To go along with the Trump arch, to go along with the reflecting pool, to go along with the the Jefferson Memorial, all of the other projects, the ballroom, clearly can't forget the ballroom. How could you forget to throw that one in there? But this is what he's focused on as we have, U.S. servicemen and women under missile threat, missiles and drone threat every single night from Iran, as we continue to see rising gas and oil prices, instability in the market, all of those things that we're talking about, the continued war, between Russia and Ukraine that Donald Trump continues to not put his fucking thumb down on, like all of the things that we could talk about. What's he doing? He's holding press conferences for his new latest model that people are just throwing in front of him to keep him happy. Just give him a model. If he's pissed off or if he just shat his pants, build him a model. He'll be pleased as shit. He'll be a pig and shit, people. Check this out. We'll just play, like I said, 2 seconds of this, but this is what he's thinking about at a time where Americans are struggling. Again, the list continues of everything we could talk about.
With the top architects anywhere in the world, and I was involved with Sean and with a lot of other people, actually, but Scott was very much involved, I can tell you. But we are
you can't really see it. Let me see if I can skip to a point here where they might show the there it is right there. So you can see now there the little model that's in front of Trump. I mean, you've seen like little airplanes, the model of the Air Force One before it was built. Like, it's just, they're trying to appease a child. They're appeasing a fucking child. Same thing Speer was doing to Hitler. Like, yeah, just build him another section of the fucking city that he can stare at. Just shut him up, keep him out of my way so I could run the war, or so I could run the fucking ministry, or so I could whatever. Just shut him the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants to listen to his bullshit anymore. Nobody wants to see him start any more wars or kill any more Americans. Like, just give him something to build. At least let him think that he's building it. So that's what's going on here. This is the new Hitler going over his new Germania project and models with the rest of his cronies here. This is the same exact fucking thing.
In the Trump administration than in the Biden administration.
Oh, geez. He couldn't get out of this without saying Biden at least once or twice, right? Like, nothing gets him. He doesn't even have to take a little blue pill. I'm pretty sure at this point he just has to think about Joe Biden or Hunter Biden, and that will take care of it.
We ran it well. Operation Warp Speed was talked about as being one of the great success stories anywhere in the world, actually.
All right. So like I said, we don't have to go into too much of that, but just to show you what, the priorities that are being put forward here by the White House and Donald Trump in particular. This is another angle of the new airport that he's trying to build. But that's the first thing that I thought of when he had that little display there, and he continues to have the Trump arch and the fucking ballroom and this and that and everything else that he's kind of displayed as his little project. Again, as we're spending billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars on wasted munitions in the Iran war, leading to absolutely no benefit whatsoever, and all of the degradation that you could possibly imagine within the Middle East, into the world economy, into the markets, into your pocketbook, right? But, it doesn't really matter. As long as he's building another fucking project, I think we're all set in Donald Trump's mind. But, all right, this is, again, for people, and this is the first time that we've done this in a while. We'll see how much we can get through. But this is more to show the cognitive decline, right? The absolute inability for this guy to even function mentally at this fucking point in time. I saw about 1 or 2 clips from this, and I knew it was over. It's donezo. And again, this isn't the first time, obviously, that anybody has recognized that, but it really drilled it home, really drilled home the point as far as that's concerned. But this is Trump at Lindsey Graham's funeral. Okay. And you would think there would be one occasion or at least one thing where it would be pretty easy to just do the right thing, to just do the normal thing, say the things that you're supposed to say, get the fuck out of there, regardless if you like the guy, if you didn't like the guy, if whatever the hell is the situation. If there was one thing that the president or a president at the time should be able to do, is to give like a short, concise, professional, I don't want to say professional, but like a heartfelt eulogy. Right, you would think, especially somebody that Donald Trump called and considered a friend. We don't know what that friendship consisted of, obviously, but maybe a book in a couple years will tell us. But somebody he considered a friend in Lindsey Graham. Here's Donald Trump, and I show this to you guys just to. Again, for anybody that may not have been paying attention for quite some time, I know you've probably heard certain clips and obviously dumb things that he said, and we have, all the sound bites in the world that we could play, kind of like, this one.
Islamic Republic of Japan.
Yep, the Islamic Republic of Japan, and then
we're inviting Americans from all across the country to come.
Right, and then we got other beautiful ones.
Kidney has a very special place in the heart. It's an incredible thing.
It is an incredible thing, and I think he's just getting acclimated. He was just getting acclimated when he
They're
said
just
that.
getting acclimated. You know what that means? Acclimated.
Oh, shit. Acclimated. I got that one wrong. That's my apologies. And then there's, yesterday's a tough word.
Yesterday's a hard word for me.
But you understand what I'm talking about. So we've seen this happening for quite some time. But in case you haven't been paying attention, in case you're new to watching this show, if you are, welcome to the community. Welcome to the family. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. Thank you for taking the time out of your day where you have so many different options on what you could be watching, what you could be listening to be here with me and obviously the family and community that we've built here. So if you could hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. A lot of you guys watch all the time and are not subscribed. If you could just maybe at some point hop out of the chat, see if you've clicked that button. It's free to do so. Doesn't cost you a dime. Speaking of not costing you a dime, if you're on Twitch and you do have Amazon Prime, you could also join the channel here on Twitch, and it doesn't cost you a dime on that one either. So thank you again to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Substack, wherever you're watching. Again, we don't charge for Substack. We have nothing hidden behind a paywall. We are truly an independent channel here, giving you the opinions that nobody else is kind of persuading us to give. Okay, we don't have to worry about what we can and cannot talk about. We don't have ad revenue that I'm worried about losing, any of that. It is 100% viewer funded, absolutely. And I appreciate you guys. I'm so grateful for the community that allows me to do this. And like I said, hopefully we can continue to build this up and we can continue punching above our weight class. And the more people that are watching and listening and sharing and liking and all those things, the more people will inevitably see these clips and hear what we're talking about. And hopefully that snowball continues to go. But all right, let's just see how much we can get through this. And then we have some updates. Like I said, we're not going to go through the entirety of this. Obviously, I don't want to make you guys that sick. But then we have some updates from Ukraine to get to as well. Professor Gerd's video and then a Preston Stewart video as well. But just to show everybody just how far gone Donald Trump is, right? Just to tell you how bad the situation is, let's just see if we can go through a couple minutes of this eulogy, I guess, by Donald Trump at Lindsey Graham's funeral. Because boy, oh fucking boy, from the clips that I saw, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. All right, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. My name's Brian. This is Blunt Politics. I really, 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 truly appreciate you guys, and thank you so much for everything that you've been, capable of, accomplished in this, since we started here. I can't be more grateful to you guys. So thank you. All right, let's jump into it. I'm already laughing. Fuck. He didn't even get on the stage yet, and I'm laughing. Uh-oh. What happened? Where'd you go? Oh, it started over? All right, here we go. Yeah. Here we go. Buckle up. Remember, this is a eulogy of a politician that he called a friend. Okay, just keep that in the back of your mind.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much.
Vice President Vance, members of the cabinet, members of the House and Senate, distinguished guests, Darlene, and the entire Graham.
Yeah, Darlene, who we just, handed a senatorship to, might as well. You got the same last name, right? You followed Lindsey around. We saw you in enough pictures with Lindsey. You must be deserving of being a fucking senator in the United States. Might as well, right? Fuck it. I still, again, don't understand any point of that, any part of that.
Family, we love you all. Today we gather in the deepest gratitude and profoundest sorrow.
Profoundest? Is that hold on. Profoundest? Profoundist. Profoundist is a superlative form. All right. That's why I checked. Just sometimes things don't sound right. You know what I mean? Sometimes things just don't sound right coming out of his mouth. So I got to double check.
Honor a beloved friend, a devoted brother, a respected statesman, a giant of the United States Senate, and a true American original who left
Hold
us.
on. Don't forget Warhawk. And the biggest user of Tinder. Grindr. Sorry.
Much too soon, and
Some would say not soon enough.
that can only be the one and only Lindsey Graham. By the strength
Really
of his
heartfelt right
steadfast-
off the bat, guys. You can tell this is really from the heart. A speech that he has not seen until this very second. Holy shit. And he makes that very clear later on in the one clip that I saw. He kind of says he's going off script, which automatically tells people that he didn't write it. You know what I mean?
convictions, the force of his magnetic personality, and the goodness of his noble soul. Lindsey rose from a small town.
Noble soul. Who the fuck wrote this? I got to speed it up just a touch. I can't listen to him at real speed. Real speed, it's impossible.
Down in rural South Carolina, a place he loved so much, to become a constant fixture.
He loved it so much. Why did he spend so much time elsewhere? Right? Why was he so focused on what was going on outside of the country? If he cared about his constituents, maybe he'd be more focused on providing a better life, or would have been more focused on providing a better life for his constituents instead of worried about, conducting war and seeing people die in other countries. Just saying.
Of American politics at the highest level, and a force to be reckoned with all over the world. For more than 30 years, nothing of consequence happened in this capital without Lindsey Graham knowing about it. Nothing of significance happened anywhere in the world without Lindsey Graham.
Tell me you want to be anywhere else on the planet besides reading this eulogy right now. He's the worst at this.
Having a view on it, and no bill became law in the most exceptional republic in human history without Lindsey Graham having a say in it. He was a man who...
Come on, those are words. You can speak them. No, you can't? Okay. Well, maybe you shouldn't be commander-in-chief. Okay, maybe it's time to step down there, Grandpa. If the words that are written about as big as they could possibly be written on that page, I guarantee it, you can't see them at that point and then, project them to the audience. Maybe it's time to fucking step aside there, Gramps.
Gave America the full measure of his good and mighty heart until that heart itself just gave out.
Jesus Christ, again. Oh, He's talking about a guy that literally didn't he have his heart exploded or something, or his veins exploded, or like the wall ruptured on something. Like, maybe you don't want to say it like that. I don't. I don't think that's the time to talk about the way in which his heart was or was not working. Let's just say I don't know. If I was the family in there, I think I wouldn't really take that part too kindly.
But even though Lindsay's life was cut short while he was still so full of vim and vigor, there can be no doubt that he lived absolutely to the fullest. He died doing the work he was born to do.
Yep, he started and got his nose in every war he could possibly do. If there was a war or guns being shipped somewhere, Lindsey Graham was never far behind. He was kind of like Nicolas Cage in Lords of War, or the Lord of War, I think.
He was truly a great politician, serving the country he loved to serve so deeply. He went out of
serving the country he loved to serve so deeply. I don't know. I'm starting to think maybe Trump did write this speech.
the peak of his career and the top of his game as a legend that every one of us, many of us here today, blessed to know him, and a friend that none of us will ever forget. There was truly nobody like Lindsey Graham. It was his hometown of Central South Carolina.
This is given the biggest. I was supposed to do this project. I was supposed to study for this book report, and I didn't do a goddamn thing to study or do anything on this project, but I still have to present it to the class. You know what I mean? Like, that's what this is given. Like, somebody just handed me what I'm supposed to read, like all the information. They did all the work and just handed me the cue cards, and just go up there and read it, because I know you have nothing. You have no knowledge on the situation whatsoever. And you probably can't think of a goddamn good thing about the man that you want to say, but here's at least here's a couple talking points you can go up there and screw up.
That Lindsey first learned the art of politics. His parents ran a bar and pool hall on Main Street with a room.
Nothing teaches you politics better than a pool hall and a bar.
Thrive, a very difficult combination. For his entire storied career, that's exactly who Lindsey Graham was. He was the first person to make you laugh, and one of the last people that you've really ever wanted to fight. These were the...
Who's writing this shit? Who is writing this fucking bullshit? The last person you wanted to fight was Lindsey Graham. Why? Was he going to hit you over the head with his loafer? What was he going to do? His socks were too colorful. They were going to blind you or something? Like, what the fuck was Lindsey Graham going to do in a fight? Get the fuck out of here.
The traits that made him into one of the great figures in Senate history. Few like him. As a boy, Lindsey also learned his first lessons in diplomacy when the wife of one regular patron called the bar asking for her husband. She demanded to know, where is he? The man instructed Lindsey, tell her I'm not here. And young Lindsey nodded and said into the phone to the wife, he said to tell you that he's not here. That was Lindsey. When Lindsey was just 20 years old, he lost his mom to cancer. 15 months later, he lost his dad. Their deaths left his 13-year-old sister, Darlene, an orphan. But in God's mercy, she had her wonderful brother to take care of her.
Jesus H. Christ. This is more painful than I thought it
Who
was
was
going to be.
Lindsey's proudest legacy, now continues his legacy of service in the U.S. Senate, a place that he cherished. And I have no doubt that he's looking down today, beaming with pride at his sister, Senator Darlene Graham. Thank you, Senator.
Graham. Darlene Graham.
Lindsey first stormed into Washington with the Republican Revolution of 1994, becoming...
Oh, my God. He really goes through the entire thing, doesn't he? Unbelievable. Well, let me tell you what happened when he was 13 on a Monday. It's written in front of me. I have no idea, no recollection of this whatsoever, but boy, oh boy, did they tell me about it.
So hard to say. A memorial service for Lindsey.
What? Hold on. What was that? Play.
Our golf games, and only because of his really, and I will say this memorial service, it's so hard to say. A memorial service for Lindsey, it's hard to say. But I'll admit that
Memorial service for Lindsey is hard to say? What the fuck? What the fuck?
friends and Lindsey did not stop calling me for the next 10 years. It was not easy. I always cherish the memories of our golf games, and only because of his really, and I will say this memorial service, it's so hard to say. A memorial service for Lindsey, it's hard to say. But
I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? What's hard to say? The memorial service or the golf game? Did you go off the golf game? I thought that would be like the one aspect that you actually had some like actual feelings of, like you actually had some memories of, would be like something that happened on the fucking golf course. But he seemingly got away from that, and now he's talking. I don't know what he means by
I'll
that.
admit that one time Lindsey Graham and Annika Sorensen actually beat me and Gary Player together. Can you believe that? Annika played very well that day, actually.
Unbelievable.
But right to the end, Lindsey carried in his golf bag the putter that once belonged to his dad, and he carried it with him with class. And
again, this is a child reading a book report that somebody else wrote for him that he didn't study for. Right? You know what I mean? Like, this is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Okay. This is the president of the United States right now. And it's just, I don't know. If there was a better way to drill home just how lost in the sauce he is, out of touch with reality. I mean, obviously physically melting in front of our faces, hair just not doing well there, Betty. Not doing well there, old buddy. He's just, I think it's one of these. But like I said, we're going to have to go through
seriously, without taking himself too
the entirety
seriously.
of it.
He was unwavering in his principles, but always willing to listen. He always wanted to listen.
If it was about war and death and destruction and sending U.S. taxpayers money to go bomb another civilian population.
You had a friend in Lindsey. If you didn't share it, there was no fiercer or more constant opponent. Our nation needs more men and women like that great person sitting, laying, wherever he may be.
Well, I don't know where he is, but I can assure you he's not sitting. I that's the one thing. I'm no medical practitioner, right? I'm just saying wherever he is, I'm assuming is the southern option. If you ask me, I don't think he's sitting. Lying, yes. I'm pretty sure that's probably the correct term you should use. But sitting, not sitting anywhere. He's not sitting. He's definitely not sitting.
I think I know where he is, and I think he's up there. I think he's watching us. I'm pretty sure of it. Scripture tells us that blessed is...
Yeah. Please tell us about the scripture. If there's any... the foremost authority on scripture, Donald Trump. What scripture is he going to pull from here? What do you think?
The man who remains steadfast under trial, for when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life. For 71 years, Lindsey Graham...
No, hold on. Can you go back and explain that scripture? What is the meaning behind that? What is the message that they're trying to get across? Which is usually what you do after that. You kind of explain, the passage in the scripture and how you could put that into practice in your everyday life. But of course, Donald Trump couldn't do that if he tried. If you fucking paid him to, he couldn't do that. Hold on. Do they show at the end where he goes and he pats the casket? I think they just do his speech. But anyway, I think it's pretty evident by just a lot of these moments that we're looking at in front of the camera, in front of microphones, in public view here from Donald Trump, where it's clearly you have to be just either blind or willingly ignorant to not recognize the decline and how severe the cognitive loss, the cognitive decline is that we're seeing from this guy. It's blatant. Like I said, he's got the death grip that he used to have on MAGA. He just does not have that same grip. He doesn't have the same abilities. And again, that's leading to more and more people kind of branching off and now being more honest about their beliefs with Donald Trump, like we saw from Sean Strickland. And again, we continue to reference Marjorie Taylor Greene and some of the things that Candace Owens has said, Tucker Carlson, et cetera. But that was, again, there's a lot of wild moments. It was more painful than I thought it was going to be, and there was no way I was going to subject it to the entirety of that. But, it just was exactly like you thought. It was a third grader, if not younger, up there reading a book report that the dad kind of did for him the morning of, and he was just trying to stumble his way through it and then ad-libbing in, and the ad-libs were worse than the actual speech was. You know what I mean? He wasn't sitting there. He definitely didn't give like a respectful pat to the casket at the end of it by any means. the whole thing is just bizarre because we're not used to having somebody this critically demented in office. But yeah, that's kind of what we have to deal with for the next 2 years. But what do you say we dive into some updates here from Ukraine? Because Professor has got some updates. I think a couple more wildberry factories were hit, or these could be the ones that we were talking about yesterday, but there's some other updates here from this one that I want to get through. And then the next one, and I'll get you guys out of here on this one, is Preston Stewart. And this is to reiterate, maybe we'll start with this, and I'll start with this one actually. We'll do this one first because this, again, trying to drill home what I was referencing and talking about yesterday on the podcast, which is, again, the insanity of simultaneous reports of the United States going to escalate for a 2-week campaign as we're reporting on the low levels of stockpiles we have, specifically with the THAAD and the Patriot missile interceptors. Again, a problem that is also a problem for the Ukrainians in their fight against Russia, who has been consistently lobbing missiles into Kyiv, into other places inside of Ukraine. I was under many nights of heavy Russian bombardment by Russian missiles. The first night I got to Ukraine, in case you're unaware, was the night of the largest missile attack of the entire war by Russia. Some 40 plus, I want to say, ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles were shot into Kyiv that night. And then that persisted almost the entirety of the time that I was there in Kyiv. I have some video that I posted on social media of one of the attacks. So if you want to check that out, you can check that out on my Instagram, I believe. And maybe at the end of the show, when we check out more video from the trip, I'll pull that up as well. But yeah, this is Preston Stewart, just reiterating again some of the facts that I was making, the points that I was making yesterday about the insanity of this all. About the forever war situation that we're in, where both sides now see escalation as the only option. And again, that kind of shuts off any off ramp, and not that there is or were any off ramps there to begin with. But, the fact that, and when you got both sides in a position where escalation is the only kind of response that they see fit. Iran going tit for tat. Iran, anytime that there's a U.S. strike, is striking U.S. bases, and they seem willing to persist in that fight. They seem able to persist in that fight, talking about the U.S. intelligence assessments and what they still have for missile and drone stockpiles. Again, putting together the CENTCOM video that continues to just prove Donald Trump a liar every single time they put out a new video of them attacking fast attack boats, or another missile site, or a drone launching site, or another military base, that they've hit 35,000 times. Well, if these things, if what Donald Trump was saying was true, these things wouldn't exist. So you can't continue showing us video of things that CENTCOM, the Pentagon, Pete Hegseth, and Donald Trump told us months ago that were eradicated, were eliminated, no longer exist, are no longer a threat. Well, obviously they are a threat if they can continue and do have the ability to continue killing U.S. personnel in the area with their ballistic missiles. So, somewhere in between is the truth. And obviously the discrepancy between what CENTCOM is talking about, the targets they're hitting in the video they're posting, doesn't in any way line up with the lies and the propaganda that Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, and the Pentagon have come out and said. So again, this is Preston Stewart. This is titled, "With just 800 Patriots remaining, U.S. considers going all in with Iran." So again, the lunacy of, at the same time, recognizing how short and low your stockpiles are in that area. Obviously, the Gulf nations have been worried about this, and the allies in the area have been worried about this for quite some time. Their low stockpiles on the interceptors and ability to shoot down the Iranian missiles that are incoming. At the same time, we're reporting historically low levels. We're also talking about Admiral Bradley Cooper putting forth a plan, an option that Donald Trump is almost certainly going to take, as far as a 2-week escalation, just an all-out bombing campaign, the likes of which we haven't seen yet in this war, in hopes that will finally bring Iran to the negotiating table, where, again, that hasn't come to fruition in other attacks, other strikes, no matter how big or bold they were. So, all right, let's see if we can get into and through a few minutes of this one, again, talking about the insanity of the recent military actions, or options, I should say, that Donald Trump is considering with the war in Iran.
So the United States is considering a 2-week strike campaign to turn the tide in Iran, which comes amidst new reports showing that we may be reaching a critically low level of missile interceptors. Put another way, if we go all in against Iran right now, an option that's on the table, we may be more vulnerable to Chinese, North Korean, or Russian missiles than we've been in decades. Maybe.
And I will continue to reiterate, and I said this on the show yesterday, because I've seen some local news propaganda, conservative media propaganda, who have found themselves on some of the warships, some of the aircraft carriers and such that are in the area engaged in this fight, asking them, or the commanders of the ships, the captains of the ships, the admirals that may be in place at that moment in time, if they've had any difficult with resupply, if they've requested, any sort of munition and haven't been able to get that. And that's not the picture that we're trying to paint. Okay. The stockpile for the U.S. military has to encompass and has to take into thought the overarching global security system right there, their ability to project power in multiple aspects on the planet at the same time. So we're not just focused or just talking about the stockpiles that are, readily available for the military in the Iran fight, but, their ability in conjunction with the Iran fight to, if something were to happen with China, if something were to happen with North Korea at the same time, to be able to project our power in those places as well, to be able to defend our bases and our allies in those areas as well at the same time. So that's kind of the levels in which that they speak about, and the percentages that they'd like to see are basically our ability to project global power and to engage in different campaigns, wars, if you will, on different fronts and different aspects and different geographical positions on the on the globe. You know what I mean? So it's not just what one aircraft carrier saying, hey, I need more of this, I need more 30 millimeter, I need more, whatever they're trying to request, and say, no, we don't have that. It's kind of the entire military's capabilities as a whole. But still, when you have it down to this level, and even speaking about just Iran, it's possible, and he'll explain this here, that Iran may have more missiles than we actually have missile interceptors. And you have to take into account, much like in Ukraine that I saw, much like, what we've seen in with the bases in the Gulf nations, it sometimes takes more than one of these missiles to adequately and effectively take down the missile. So one may miss, the next one may strike, but that's two missiles, two interceptors to that one missile that they had to take out. So you obviously want more as far as a ratio is concerned, more of the interceptors, far more if possible, than the enemy has missiles. That way, if you need to expend more than one on a missile, that's still, you still have the ratio, you still have the stockpiles to deal with that and, effectively, take out the missiles that you need to take out. So even with, we're talking about the entire military and fighting different battles, it's a problem just with this Iran as far as interceptors is concerned.
Maybe ever. This is significant. So CSIS, the Center for Strategic and International Studies, released an assessment a few days ago where they say we are down to 800 Patriots and 250 THAAD interceptors remaining. That is a shockingly low.
So you can see here on the screen, is talking about our pre-war levels of the interceptors, the THAADs, and the Patriots, our levels at the ceasefire, and then our levels today. So you can see our pre-war level of Patriots, as of February 27th, we had 2,330. Which again, I still think sounds a little low considering the fight that we're seeing against Ukraine again, and Russia's push into Ukraine. I think that we should have seen that coming, and I think we should have been again ramping up production substantially of these THAADs and Patriot missiles. But again, that's it is what it is, and that was the number at that time. At the ceasefire, April 8th, we had 1,030, and then as of today, July 27th, as this was taken, we have between 759 and 827. So 800, just to kind of generalize, which again, if we're talking about the Iranians having somewhere in the vicinity of 1,000 missiles left, you can see the problem in that, okay? And again, that's just that one area. Not talking about if Xi Jinping decided to act against Taiwan, if Kim Jong-un decided to push into South Korea or launch whatever he's been threatening to launch for quite some time. Like, you can see how this could rapidly spiral out of control, and how bad actors all around the world right now are kind of salivating, right? Frothing at the mouth, seeing that this is going on and that we are kind of expending our inventories and spinning our wheels while getting absolutely nothing in return. So now, who knows what partnerships are going to align, what 2 countries, 3 countries, 4 countries decide to go into this axis of evil, if you will, and to kind of combine their forces against the United States and our allies, because they find us to be at a vulnerable position. Right? That's not the status that we want to project out there. We always want to project power, strength. Don't fuck with us. We have this stockpile. We have all this that you'll have to deal with and contend with. They're not saying that we don't have a very powerful military, but it seems like the I don't know what you'd want to call it, not the status or the, just kind of the power projected by the United States as being on a daily basis diminished. What the world thinks or sees the military capable of. Like right now, we're getting our ass handed to us by Iran. You know what I mean? And this is the United States in conjunction with Israel. What is widely known as the two most powerful militaries, the most technologically advanced militaries on the face of the planet, in conjunction with one another, cannot defeat Iran. And as a matter of fact, we're losing mightily in this war, with the Strait of Hormuz being closed, with the Houthis now shutting down the Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandeb. Like, this is a huge problem that we created ourselves, and we can't seem to dig ourselves out of. So, our military power is kind of, we're seeing the limitations of that as far as, at least what the Navy is not able or capable of, but what the social atmosphere or what the political atmosphere will allow at that moment in time in 2026 right now. Like, you're seeing the limitations of that, because I have no doubt that the Air Force or the Navy, if given the go sign, if given the go button, somebody pushed that go button, could do substantial damage to not only the entire country of Iran, but also the Navy and kind of opening up the waterways. But obviously that would cause a lot of, there'd be a lot of bloodshed, there'd be a lot of destruction, war crimes would be committed. So there's only so much that, at least in this situation, Donald Trump could utilize the military to do, and it's having a negative impact on the power projection of the U.S. military around the globe. But you can see here that I think it's what is the percentage here? I think they said some 60 or so % of our stockpiles have been expended. And again, I'm no mathematician, and this is for THAAD. So if you want to know the difference, and I think he explains it here in this video a little bit better, the Patriots are more of the shorter range interceptors, and the THAADs are more of the longer range interceptors, if you're trying to kind of separate the two, which is why I think we had substantially less of the THAADs, cost to build them and stuff as well. So pre-war levels of THAADs were 452. Today we have between 234 and 278, so 250 if you want to generalize there. And then, like I said, Preston here kind of expounds a little bit on what this means.
And used up 45% of our THAAD interceptor inventory, from 452 down to 250. Now, at a high level, these are both air defense systems designed to protect U.S. assets or important assets on the battlefield. They shoot down enemy drones, missiles, aircraft. The Patriot generally is shorter range, lower altitude, whereas the THAAD is generally higher altitude, longer range. Those numbers, 800 and 250, I don't know the last time they've been that low. Right? That is way down there. Now, one of the criticisms,
I don't know the last time they've been that low. It's not something that you want to hear from somebody that not only has, military intelligence, somebody that's been obviously involved in the military and has kind of the awareness of what they try to keep or want to keep as far as stockpiles and percentages of munitions and what their global power should look like when projected all across the globe. So when he's calling it like something he's never seen in his lifetime, and I know he's not the oldest of characters, but still probably been around and been involved in the game long enough to recognize the severity of the moment and how kind of unheard of being this low as far as interceptors and inventory is concerned is right now, especially when we're seeing the amount of war, our allies being engaged in war, and again, the way in which the U.S. military is being utilized and used so much. Like, it's crazy to see these two things happening side by side.
Scene thrown out there, we'll just address this head on, is that we must have given all of these to Ukraine, and we did provide about 600 to Ukraine total. So if we still had those 600 available and they were sitting in the inventory, that would mean that we've only used up 52% of our inventory of Patriot missiles.
So again, a talking point that I'm sure Republicans and conservatives and MAGA is undoubtedly going to try to use. Well, if we didn't give so many to Ukraine, well, I think it goes, and like you said, you can take this conversation, you can take this fact into the debate with you, is it goes from 60% to 52%. So again, not a huge difference, not a substantial difference that would change the outcome, that would totally reverse the situation that we're in. So we've expended 60% of our interceptors. And if we gave back, if Ukraine gave back the interceptors and the Patriots that we had lent them, and I would say that we should be doing a lot more and should have been doing a lot more sooner. I know there's been some movement as far as Zelensky's visit with Donald Trump, and word about the licensing for the construction and the manufacturing of Patriots. But again, look at how this is more to help us. I think this is not the United States being a good friend, right? It's beneficial. I'll take it abso-fucking-lutely, but I want you to know why we're in this position. And I think it has a lot to do with what we're talking about right now as far as these stockpiles, right? So to give Ukraine the ability to produce these, to manufacture them, obviously would be a benefit, right? Where we don't have the production capabilities that we once had. We can't swiftly turn our economy into a war economy to start producing more of these interceptors. Like we are where we are. So if we could give the licensing rights to Ukraine, not only would it benefit them to give them obviously more Patriots to protect their cities with, but it would also allow more of the Patriots to be built in general. And who knows, maybe at some time the United States is going to have to dip their grubby hands back into the Ukrainian manufactured Patriots to use for our own defense or offensive capabilities, depending on what Donald Trump's orders are, right? Like what situation we're in when we see that actually come to fruition. But I think it's less about being a good friend. I think it's less about helping an ally, and just in any way, shape, or form, more Patriots being built. And again, not to say that it's not a huge benefit and something that is desperately needed for Ukraine, because it absolutely is. But it's kind of like, anti-Semites coming to the same conclusion about Israel, but from a completely different angle type of thing. You know what I mean? So you could both come to the same end and the same conclusion, but from vastly different points. So I think that's kind of a little bit of what's happening there. All right, let's go on.
So the issue here is that when you look at those numbers, all of our adversaries, our major state adversaries, China, North Korea, and Iran, are all believed to have more than 800 ballistic missiles. And this is not a situation where you want one-to-one. Right, put yourself on the receiving end of this if your house is being protected.
And again, listen to the ratio, because this makes total sense. As you just heard, China having somewhere in the neighborhood of 800 ballistic missiles, and I'm sure far more than that when it actually came down to it. Obviously, I have no evidence to suggest or confirmation of, but the way that they work and the way that they spend their money, I would assume that they have more capabilities than they're kind of letting the world in on. Let's just say. But yeah, if they have 800, another one of our enemies have 800 of them, there's 1,600 ballistic missiles that if anything kicked off, we have to defend against. And we only have, 800 of the Patriots left, and we're still having to defend against Iran. Like, you can see where the fucking problem comes in very quickly here, and why you'd want that ratio being being far higher as far as Patriots and THAADs that we have in the stockpile compared to the amount of missiles in totality that our enemies could actually send at us, if we engage them all at once, right? That's kind of where you need to think. Like, this is what our stockpiles need to be. If all of these enemies, all of these situations around the world engaged us at the same time, we need to be able to handle that. Like, that's kind of the mindset that I think a lot of these, commanders and military strategists need to think about, is like, if and when, God forbid something kicks off with all of these, fights in places all around the world, we need to be able to handle that. And this is the level of stockpiles that we need in order to get that done. So, when it drops to a level that we're struggling just to face what Iran can send at us, that shows you just how fucking bad this level is. And again, add that on to the strategic oil reserve, add that on to the effects of the tariffs, add that on the effects of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, and you can see just how detrimental Donald Trump's presidency has been for not only the United States, but for, the world in general.
Patriot missiles, and the bad guy trying to destroy your house has 10 missiles. You certainly do not want 10 interceptors. I don't know exactly what the number is. Habitual line crosser, an actual air defender, would be able to dive into that, but 1-to-1 is not the number. And the reason for that is we do at times allow missiles to bypass and impact in open fields and areas that aren't deemed necessary to protect or expend an interceptor on. But we also have malfunctions. Sometimes they don't work. Sometimes they don't actually intercept the target. And regularly we're firing multiple interceptors for one missile. So I don't know exactly what the best ratio is here. It is certainly not 1-to-1, and it's certainly not less than 1-to-1.
So again, he's speaking about, the off chance that the weapon malfunctions, right? The off chance, or, whatever the chances are that that interceptor doesn't impact that missile, you got to send up another one. So you don't want a 1-to-1. You don't want 1,000 of our interceptors to 1,000 of their missiles. You want 3,000 of our interceptors to 1,000 of their missiles. Or again, he doesn't know the specific or perfect ratio that you need, but obviously it's going to be higher. You want higher than the enemy has missiles, right? So that's just not where we find ourselves. And again, that's a bad position to be in.
We are looking at that right now, and we are underwater when looking at our adversaries: China, North Korea, arguably Iran. Russia right now is actually on the lower end of that. They're having to produce missiles and fire them in pretty short order. But there's a debate right now, we'll get into this here in a second, that Iran right now might have more missiles available than we have interceptors. That's a problem. That's leading to the conversation being reported in the White House right now.
That's fucking crazy, guys. That is crazy. Do you understand? Like, just let him repeat that one more time and let that sink in. And I want you to simultaneously play through your mind the fact that Pete Hegseth on day 1 or 2, the Pentagon on day 1 or 2, Donald Trump since day 1 or 2 has told you that Iran has no capabilities left. They have no Air Force. They have no Navy. They have no missiles. They have no drones. They have no command structure. They have no anything. All of it's been eradicated. You have no nuclear capabilities. All of that's been eradicated. Nothing to worry about. They can't hurt us. Meanwhile, we continue to report on, U.S. servicemen and women and their deaths due to the ballistic missile strikes, the hypersonic missile strikes. Like, this is fucking nuts. Listen to this one more time.
But there's a debate right now, we'll get into this here in a second, that Iran right now might have more missiles available than we have interceptors. That's a problem. That's
Iran right now could possibly have more missiles than the United States has interceptors total. So that's not if China decides to act against Taiwan, okay? That's not being able to supply Ukraine with more interceptors to fight against and to mitigate the damages seen by the Russian missile attacks that continue to happen almost on a nightly basis, right? That's not talking about if any other of our adversaries or anybody else that possesses ballistic missiles decided to go rogue, right, and decided to act up against a neighbor or whatever, threaten shipping channels or shipping lanes or whatever the fuck it may be. That's not any of those other fights that we still have to be engaged in and ready to be able to fight. That's just the Iran war. That's crazy. That is absolutely insane that we have found ourselves in this position with no real change, no substantive change in the situation. No regime change has been accomplished by any stretch of the imagination. The same regime, more hardlined, more capable, going to be in power longer, considering the Ayatollah is younger than the Ayatollah that was eliminated. Like, all of these things that has been widely reported hasn't been accomplished. So that hasn't been accomplished. The nuclear aspect of this war, which is why this war started supposedly, hasn't been accomplished. That hasn't been achieved whatsoever. They haven't handed over the enriched uranium. They haven't done nothing about that has come to fruition, right? Clearly, they still have military capabilities. The Strait of Hormuz is still closed. The Bab el-Mandeb continues to be in play more and more as this war goes on. Like, zero benefit, all degradation, all bad things that have happened from this. And it's only put us in the position where we're now in a place where we can't even fucking defend against. If in fact Iran decided to throw up all of their missiles, we might struggle to have a 1-to-1 as far as interceptors is concerned. That's fucked up.
Leading to the conversation being reported in the White House right now, where Admiral Cooper, the head of U.S. Central Command, this is according to a New York Times reporting a few days ago, said that if Mr. Trump did not resume major combat operations, the United States should stop the bombing campaign around the Strait of Hormuz because it has reached the limit of its effectiveness. Now, what they're getting at there,
I just don't understand how you could. We're living a world right now. We live in this like alternate universe, this fucking psychotic reality of, at the same time, this is being reported, right? Trump encounters a more determined Iran as war widens. It says the United States is again exchanging strikes with Iran just days after the president appeared to reject plans to escalate. As we're talking about that, if you're not going to continue this, if you're not going to, if you don't see any benefit from this, you got to stop, because our stockpiles are at such a level where, we're starting to, this is getting bad at this point. So at the same time you have that reporting going on, you have Admiral Bradley Cooper giving Donald Trump an option for a 2-week escalation, of bombing that, again, we haven't seen in this war yet, right? So heavy escalation, more and more targets, more civilian infrastructure, you can be assured, all of that. So how those two things can live in the same reality, I don't fucking know, but that's where we find ourselves, unfortunately.
On the Strait of Hormuz, because it has reached the limit of its effectiveness. Now, what they're getting at there is these kind of tit for tat strikes we've seen for a while now between the United States and Iran. I would argue was leading up to the ceasefire. In the final days leading up to the announcement of that memorandum of understanding and all of that was still kind of this tit for tat. This is an asymmetric fight in the Strait of Hormuz, where we have to get this straight back to 100% safe for anyone to pass, we have to definitively destroy 100% of Iran's capability to lay mines, fire drones and missiles anywhere near the strait. For Iran,
and this is what I was saying yesterday, guys, this is that asymmetric aspect of this war where as soon as Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump decided to enact this, as soon as they decided to sneak attack Iran, as they were engaged in negotiations, as they decided to assassinate the Ayatollah, that immediately upon the closure of the Strait of Hormuz put us in the position of asymmetrical war. Okay, immediately. And that's something that all the war planners, all the war gamers, all of the presidents and their fucking military leadership knew generations, right? And have said, no, we're not going to do this. No, we're not going to do this. As much as Benjamin Netanyahu has tried to get president after president after president after president to go along with this plan. But as soon as that happened, and the Iranians put the closure on the Strait of Hormuz, that threw us into this asymmetrical warfare where now we have to completely, like Donald Trump claims he's done, completely eradicate their military capabilities. They can't be able to put one fucking mine in the Strait of Hormuz. They can't be able to send one drone or missile into the Strait of Hormuz. As long as they can do that, as long as they can threaten that, the shipping companies, the insurance companies, and the businesses at large, the corporations, will have to take that threat seriously. And that will affect the shipping going through the Strait of Hormuz and other waterways, considering what proxy or what partner they have are activated at that point in time. And that's going to affect the global shipping. That's going to affect the global trade. That's going to affect supply and demand. That's going to affect prices, much like we've seen already in this war. So Iran doesn't have to beat us militarily. They don't have to defeat the U.S. military. They don't have to defeat the IDF, okay? They don't have to take out our Navy or our Air Force. They don't have to. All they have to do is still be able to lob a drone, lob a single missile, or at least threaten to lob a single missile or a drone, or to be able to lay a single mine in that strait, and they have it fucking closed, okay? They have the world by the balls, and we have to respect that. We have to respect their military capabilities. Again, we've seen and been told by multiple U.S. assessments, intelligence assessments, what their military capabilities, actual military capabilities, still look like, as compared to pre-war levels. And that's not in any way, shape, or form representative of what Donald Trump has been telling you. But that's the problem that Donald Trump has created himself. We now have to, again, with overwhelming force that, again, Donald Trump isn't going to want to use, or the United States isn't going to stand to be used in order to mitigate this damage, in order to mitigate this threat entirely. And that's just not something that the United States is going to stand for. That's just not something that even Donald Trump feels he has the power to do. Right, boots on the ground is a huge red line. Not saying that he won't ever do it, right? I don't give him that much credit at all. I'm just saying that you can see up until this point how hesitant he is to actually call for that, because he knows what a significant change in the circumstances that will reflect. Like, that will certainly be a tipping point. That will certainly be a turning point in the way that people see this war, view this war, money spent on this war, death occurred in this war. All of that will go up exponentially if he decides to actually put boots on the ground. But that's the situation that we now find ourselves in, as far as, the asymmetrical warfare that's going on between the United States and Iran, and why Iran has the upper hand in multiple categories. Again, willingness to subject their citizens to hardship, right? They are much less caring about their people, and they're much more willing to subject themselves to economic hardship, food shortages, fuel shortages, anything that you can think of, way more than the United States will stand for and allow their government to subject them to. Right. So they got us by the balls in that situation, which is why we saw them much more resilient to the U.S. naval blockade of the Strait of Hormuz than was originally anticipated, than the intelligence agencies and the experts originally anticipated. It was quickly seen that the Iranians could withstand that for a longer period of time than the United States could effectively put that blockade into effect, judging by costs, judging by the pressure put on the world economy and the price spikes. Obviously, they were willing to withstand that longer than we could put that in place. So they had us by the balls there too. So there's a lot of aspects in which, the Trump administration failed to recognize the difference between Venezuela, for example, and Iran. Militarily, religiously, fanatically, all of these things that they thought it was going to be a fucking walk in the park, like they were going to scoop Maduro out of his bed at midnight and flying back to New York. And that's just couldn't have been further from the situation or the reality. And again, which is why president after president after president, after trying to be pressured by Benjamin Netanyahu, had told him to fucking pound sand in this situation. So, all right, let's just see if there's another minute of this. Then we'll go into the Professor Gerds with just some updates over the last, I think, 24 hours of what Ukraine's been up to.
They simply have to retain enough to make a threat believable. They don't have to blow up a ship. They don't really even have to fire a missile. They just have to make a threat and have the shipping companies or countries around the world believe that they have the ability to do that. That is an asymmetric difference. There is no chance we are going to be able to remove 100% of their capabilities from the air. And even if we do, first off, we won't know, right? But secondly, it's just Iran threatening. We will lay another mine, or we did lay another mine that could cause another shutdown in the Strait of Hormuz. So that is an asymmetric difference. What Admiral Cooper is getting at is this bombing campaign is not going to get us any closer to resolving that issue. That leads to the Wall Street Journal reporting just yesterday that Admiral Cooper has come up with a 2-week plan to turn the tide and shift the war in our favor. He said, quote, for the Wall Street.
Again, judging by the reporting and what he was just saying, this seems to be a plan by Admiral Cooper that Admiral Cooper knows won't work, right? This just seems to be a plan just to appease Donald Trump, right? Just to give Donald Trump, some sort of plan where he seems to be this alpha and he seems to be in charge and he's calling the shots and he's calling for the bombings and stuff like that. Like, just by what Admiral Cooper was saying in the last tit for tat campaign, like this isn't working and we're just spending our munitions and just wasting our stockpile here, with the retaliations that we're seeing from Iran. Like, this is stupid. This isn't going to work. So the next thing he puts forth is a 2-week escalation that he knows won't work, but is just to appease Donald Trump, just to give him some sort of option out there, because Donald Trump, like the reporting that we showed yesterday, if you guys missed the show yesterday, you can go back and check out, maybe I could see this. Hold on. I could probably show you guys real quick in case you guys weren't there, but there's reporting from Fox News, and I'm sure you've seen it on other outlets now, where Donald Trump has been given a stern talking to with some profanity in there about the, to his Iran war planners. Let's see, Trump, Iran war planners. Let's see if this brings anything up, because we talked about it yesterday. If not, I'll shoot you back to yesterday's show. Let's see here. We just want them winning very hard. You can say Russian trouble and hiding. I just want to see if there's any reporting on this. Should be able to see it. Iran war planners in the press predicted 4 to 5 weeks. Trump ended their nuclear capability in a week and a half. Somebody says here, but you can see he's going after his war planners. There's reporting out there suggests, just because I can't find it in this 2 seconds. Let's see here. No, I'm probably just not typing in the right thing. But like I said, there are some reports of a profane latent, expletive latent rant that Donald Trump went on as far as his war planners are concerned. Let's see here. Rants, maybe. If I add that on there. No. Maybe if I don't do it on this and just do it on this one. Hold on. Let me see this. Trump, Iran, war planners, expletive. Maybe that'll do it. Trump, I'll just put this one on since this is closest I could find. Throw this on the screen for you guys. So this is obviously Fox News again, and this was the clip from Peter Ducey that we played yesterday, where he was reporting on the, and it says Trump unleashes string of expletives on Iran war planners. So clearly not showing behind the scenes a guy that feels he's in control, a guy that's winning this war. Let me see if I can throw this on the screen. This is that clip from Ducey. How do you play it? Will it play? No, it's Fox News, so this site sucks. Anyway. We played it yesterday, so if you need to go back and take a look at it, you can. But yeah, this is the again, the rantings of a guy that knows he's losing the grip of reality on this one, and definitely on the losing end of this battle so far. But let's see here. If we'll go to the professor video, which is this one right here. All right, and we'll just go into, like I said, this is just some updates on what Ukraine's been up to in the last, I think, 48 hours. This is titled "Russia Just Can't Stop Ukraine's Blitz." So I just want to go through this and see if we can get caught up on, again, some of these strikes, some of the effective attacks that Ukraine has been perpetrating over the last, like I said, 24, 48 hours, and then I'll get you guys out of here. I appreciate you very, very much. If you could hit that like button, at least subscribe to the channel. It's free to do so. Both that, liking, sharing, and subscribing, all free things. And again, get involved and get signed up at the Patreon at patreon.com/BostonBrian, and right here at the YouTube memberships just underneath me, because I'll be sending these things out and picking winners. If not this week, probably next week, where we can figure out some sort of system in order to pick winners. So we got, these handcrafted, wooden, just beautiful pieces that were made and I bought on the streets of Kyiv. So we got that one. We got, another one of these just beautiful pieces. Obviously you can put on a shelf or, use as a decorative piece, however you want. We got some flags. I got some patches that I'll probably be sending out. So sign up at the Patreon, patreon.com/BostonBrian, or just underneath me here for YouTube memberships. And thank you to everybody that contributes to the show via Venmo, YouTube Super Chat, Super Stickers, jewels, whatever the jewels may be. I'm just so grateful of you guys continuing to keep this show running. Again, an independent channel. Nothing hidden behind a paywall. Don't charge for Substack. Don't talk to any corporate sponsors. Don't run any ads during the show. I don't even get the live's not even monetized for multiple reasons. One is because it wouldn't be anyway, because they keep giving me shit for the intro song anyway, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm not going to subject you guys to these ridiculous ads. I know that'll probably give me a boost in the algorithm, because YouTube and all these other platforms, if they can't make money off you, they're probably not going to push you. But again, I'm trying to do things the right way here. I don't want anybody having any sway over what I can and cannot talk about. I don't want to, have the advertisers start, threatening to remove their fund, all the bullshit that comes and is associated with all those things. So hopefully, like I said, we can continue to build our subscriber base, and that'll never be an issue. That'll never be a problem. We can turn this into a profitable venture with your generosity, with the viewer funded help that you guys have shown so far throughout this program and its lifespan. So much appreciated. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to the best mods on social media and what I consider the best chat in all of social media right here with the Blunt Politics family. All right, here we go. Let's get into a little bit more from Ukraine. Appreciate you guys. Slava Ukraini, Heroyam Slava.
It's Friday, July 31st, 2026, and the problems just keep stacking up for Russia. Another 3 wild berries today, an oil refinery, and more. So let's look at overnight strikes. Here we see red arrows around 320 drones reported and where they're going across Russia. We also see 300 drones. OSINT Technical talking about more than 300 drones going out into Russia. I try to verify the facts, and it seems like these two verify each other very nicely. A drone bomber, 5 identified targets, damage assessment, Wildberries Logistics Center near.
So again, there's so many of these Wildberry facilities being hit. It's tough to know, like, if they're reporting on the strikes we already know about, or if they're new strikes. But this is 7:31. You can see here, obviously today being 7:31, excuse me. And this is saying 5 intended targets in the damage assessment, which is 1, a new Wildberries Logistics Center in Volgograd. Used to be Stalingrad, in case anybody is familiar with their history, their World War II history. Obviously, you can see the historical significance of the Russians again being attacked at Volgograd. Again, like I said, previously known as Stalingrad. Number 2 is the Volgograd oil refinery. So just showing you the wide-ranging capabilities of the Ukrainian military and what they go after on a nightly basis. So at the same time, they're striking these wild-buried logistics centers that we've seen time and time again now. Also continuing their push against the oil refineries. We've talked about many, many times the fuel shortages and the troubles that that's led to, not only just in occupied Crimea and occupied areas of the eastern portion of Ukraine, but also in Russia proper. They've seen huge trouble. So number 3 is the Tanico oil refinery in Nizhnekamsk. The 4 is another Wildberry and Ozon Center in Zelodonsk. And the number 5 is another Wildberry Logistics Center in Kazan. I think the one in Kazan was one of the ones that we reported on yesterday. So I think that may be some overlapping. I do not believe we talked about the Volgograd ones yesterday as well. So let's see what else we can get into.
Volgograd damaged. Well, it's pretty well destroyed. I'll show you the image of that in just a moment. Volgograd oil refinery in Volgograd damaged. Tenenko oil refinery in Nizhnekamsk. Unknown Wildberries and Ozon Center in Nizhnekamsk.
Like at this point in time, Professor, you should be fluent. No, that's a lie, because then that means I should be fluent. So I retract that.
Dolsk, unknown, and Wild Berries Logistics Center in Kazan, and we don't know the state of that either. Okay, so today, this was yesterday, Jay and Keith posted this, but it applies today just as equally. Today is one of those days in which it's easier to count the things in Russia that are not burning rather than those that are. Russia's port of Taman has entered the ring. And so, again, it just seems like thing after thing after thing.
And you can see there on the bottom of Jane Key's reporting on the bottom here, it says another rough day for Russia's logistics archipelago as the second wildberry facilities is hit, this time 1,400 kilometers from Ukraine in Sarupol. Udmurt, that was the one that we did report on yesterday, as well as the, I'm forgetting the name of it yesterday, but the one that we just went through in the listing of the 5 strikes.
And so, again, it just seems like thing after thing after thing yesterday and today. Here's a video showing helicopters battling yesterday's fire at the Wildberries warehouse in Penza. So this is the helicopter trying to dump water.
Yeah, shit. You can see the helicopter there in the top part of that screen there. Looks like got a basket, water drop basket of some sort, trying to put out that fire. Check that out one more time.
Again, it just seems like thing after thing after thing yesterday and today. Here's a video showing helicopters battling yesterday's fire at the Wildberries warehouse in Penza. So this is the helicopter trying to dump water on the fire, and it was a pretty big thing yesterday, a pretty substantial strike in Penza. There are multiple Wildberries charts showing that there was a fire here and a fire there and a fire at this one and that sort of thing. Here's another version of this. I think in my...
Well, how many does this say, though? It says this is damaged. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I thought I counted 10 yesterday. I could have been mistaken on one of these graphs, on one of these charts that was shown. But like I said, take it with a grain of salt. There's just so many of these going down that it's hard to keep track of them. It really is.
Next video, I'm going to show, I'm doing the research. I will show you an updated Wildberries warehouse chart and exactly how much of Wildberries has been destroyed, and show you an insight that I got from the professor.
Yeah, we'll have to take a look at that video. We'll have to take a look at that. If he's doing kind of like a comprehensive look at all of them that have been hit and how much they've been damaged, that's something that I want to take a look at, because like I said, it's been the reports have been coming in so hot and heavy on these factories and the videos that are coming out. It's tough to put together if you're looking at a different angle from a recent strike, if you're looking at a new strike. So we'll see what he comes up with as far as the research is concerned on just how much of the capacity, the capabilities of these Wildberry factories has been eliminated by the Ukrainian kinetic actions.
The University of Pennsylvania that does the Pittsburgh that does the lines on map. William Spaniel, he had a really interesting point that I want to bring to the fore here, because there's multiple layers with Wildberries. So that'll be my next video. Okay, Ukrainian drone attacked another Wildberries facility in Russia, this time in the southern city of Volgograd. Russia's largest online retailer said on July 31st that a logistics hub
it is remarkable, Gordon. It is crazy, and you're 100% right, obviously, with all the plastics and the shipping stuff and everything that goes into these factories. There's obviously a lot that could burn, but I mean, looking at some of the footage that we saw yesterday and clearly what you're seeing on your screen right now, it's crazy that it's like it's a 1-to-1 to like what the oil refineries look like when they're hit. It's crazy, the toxicity of the smoke and just the amount of smoke and how far and up into the sky it travels, and just it lingering over the cities, letting everybody know exactly what's going on and what the problem is, and kind of the dangers that they're under is another aspect of this. Like, it's not just a little fire that some people in the city can see. Like, that's fucking people that cities that are miles away are seeing. So they even know, like, oh, fuck, Ukraine's up to something again. So it kind of, it instills that into them. But yes, you're 100% right. The China crap does burn good, but it's still shocking to me just how well it burns and just how big it burns and hot it burns and long it burns. Like, that's a crazy aspect. But you're 100% right there, Gordon.
And hit. The strike is the latest in a series of attacks that have damaged at least 13 Wildberries warehouses since mid-July, reportedly destroying about 10% of the company's storage capacity. I saw that 10% figure 2 days ago before the 2 or 3 strikes yesterday and the 3 strikes today. So it's got to be more than that.
It looks like AliExpress is going to get busy instead. Is that the same thing as Alibaba? Is AliExpress and Alibaba the same thing, or are those two different things? But somebody's definitely going to see an uptick in activity in business. I don't know what other site that they use, Temu or whatever the fuck, but I think KTV. I think you're onto something as far as that's concerned. Somebody's going to profit somewhere out of this. Somebody.
Point. A burned out Wildberries warehouse in Volgograd after a night
Let's
attack.
go.
Little remains of the
Let's
logistics.
go.
See
Appreciate
that
you guys. Dame Dog says Orcs Must Die. Sticker came in the mail. Too cool. I've already picked out my spot in my back window. Let's fucking go, brother. Appreciate that. It was cool to see. And like I said, we could probably dip out of this for the next minute, and I'll show you this one. Let me see. Somebody was asking about yesterday. Somebody was asking if I got to the protests in Ukraine while I was there for Fedorov. And yes, not only did I get to the protest, let me throw this on the screen real quick, throw this one on, but Philip Ittner actually had just thrown up a video on Facebook. Let me see if I can actually go to his Facebook, because Philip Ittner, friend of the show, had the fantastic opportunity to meet up with him a couple times while I was in Ukraine. Fantastic to see him. Got a chance to record, actually. I don't know if you'd call it a podcast or an interview or whatnot, but just to sit down and just kind of my general thoughts on my trip, and just kind of like the, I don't know what, I guess that's kind of a great way to describe just my general thoughts on the trip and stuff like that. But I'm not sure if that's up yet, but let me see if I'll go to Philip Ittner, because he just posted another video of some protests that were taking place, I believe, this evening or last evening in Ukraine. Another show of support for Fedorov, if I'm not mistaken. Let me throw this on. It's only about 40 seconds, but you can see just how many people are in the street here. And it's wild that I was just right there. Like just right. I was just right there. You know what I mean? It's crazy. So again, you can see this going. Wait till he pans left. You can see just how far the crowd goes down the street. Look at that. Look at that. So again, appreciate Philip Ittner for getting that. Thank you. That's not what I want to show. But thank you to Philip Ittner for throwing that up on his media, on his social media, on YouTube there. But yeah, we had the opportunity to see, not a procession like that on the streets, but this was just a short clip, about 30 seconds from the protest that I was able to get to. We went to a couple of them. This is, I believe, the first one. So yeah, check this clip out. It was about 30 seconds. Make this a little bigger on your screen. So this was right outside the presidential palace. You can hear them chanting Sersky Het, which is Sersky out or Sersky no, Sersky stop. Where's Rachel when you need her? I'm sure Rachel's in the chat. She could probably tell me exactly or more along the lines of what that specifically means. I think I've heard a few different meanings from a few different people, the way that it's, the way that it gets translated. But yeah, this is right outside the presidential palace. And this was before Sersky stepped down, or Sersky was removed. So now that we have Drapati in there, I think, like what I was saying in one of the shows or one of the lives that I was doing from Ukraine, like the dream team, so to speak, would be Fedorov and Drapati, young, technologically advanced, understands the drone game, knows where this war is going, not the old Soviet type that Sersky was seen at, not that he was like an ineffective commander, but, still the way that this war is progressing, like to have Drapati and Fedorov, I think would be, kind of the dream scenario. I don't know what the situation is since I left with Fedorov, if he's been questioned or asked to return, but clearly there's still still support, judging by Philip's video that we just saw of how many people were taking to the street. And then you put that in conjunction with this. And as you'll notice, the age of the people that are protesting, if you compare that to the age of the people protesting in the United States, a lot are older people you'll see often out there at some of these No Kings Hands Off rallies. But a lot of these people are the younger generation. So again, that was one from the protest that I had the chance to see. And then see, I think there was another one. Like I said, here's the picture with Philip and I just before I left. That was just after we recorded the podcast. That's who posted the video in case anybody's new to the channel. You can go over to Philip Ittner. He has a great podcast on the edge, especially if you're involved in or want to continue to be involved in what's going on with Ukraine. He has fantastic interviews with people that are highly knowledgeable on the situation. A lot of the times, Ukrainians from Ukraine getting the firsthand accounts, people that are involved with drone companies and defense companies and again, social media content creators and anybody that again can bring some awareness to the situation. That's a great channel. I would definitely recommend that you follow. Let's see here, where did we leave off yesterday on some of these pictures? I think we were at the Motherland Monument. Was I at? We were talking about some of the destruction in and around. Here's another one. Again, this is just showing the destruction of the street we were showing yesterday. This is on the way to that McDonald's that I reported from. And I think I have a couple videos that I could post from outside of that McDonald's that I didn't get a chance to post either. But you can see the obvious destruction on both sides of the street, businesses on both sides of the street taken out by Russian missiles. And again, like I said, if you walked further on down the street, you get to the world famous and the most resilient McDonald's, the one that Laura Loomer decided to do her little press conference at. And yeah, we had this one. This is outside that same one. What's going on, gang? Boston Brian here. Just wanted to check in live from Kyiv, Ukraine, sitting out front of probably the most famous McDonald's on the planet right now. Definitely the most resilient McDonald's on the planet right now that has been subject to multiple Russian missile and drone attacks thus far. I am in a portion of the city that has been heavily targeted by the Russians, whether it be missile or drones. This entire street has been affected in one way or another. Every building, every apartment complex, everything on this street has either been totally destroyed or has had their windows blown out. Something. I'll flip you around right now, and I can show you exactly what I'm looking at across the street. But I know I've continued to say it throughout my videos, but this is why I know that this city will never, ever, ever fall, because life goes on, life persists. McDonald's is open, people packed inside there. You can see the blown out windows up top there, but that's not going to stop them. Well, check it out. So that's my view here across the street, and that persists down the block. On my side of the street here, on this block, there's an entire stretch of businesses that have been totally destroyed. I'm sure. So again, that's from outside of the McDonald's that has been so famously talked about. Let's see here. I showed you guys those ones yesterday. That was inside the Pechersk Lavra. Let's see, I think we go up from here. Some closer footage. You guys, I heard you guys yesterday were making fun of my my dinner. What? I can't make some Italian pasta in Ukraine to feel comfortable, right? Like I said, can you let me eat when I want to eat, for Christ's sakes? Stop shoving the borscht down my throat. I just want to be able to, sustain myself. I just want energy, and that if I just have to stick to things that I like and things that are familiar, then that's what I'm going to do. Okay? Stop pushing me. But yes, I made some I made some pasta with some nice Italian bread, or Ukrainian bread, I should say. At least I had something Ukrainian in there. But yeah, this was this is how I fed myself. If it wasn't the pizza, if it wasn't the McDonald's, and I tried to spread it around. Like I said, I tried to spread it around. This is another cool moment, obviously getting to see the Motherland Monument, as you can see there in the background. We talked about that a little yesterday, but it's huge monument there. Pretty cool to see the Sea Baby drones. That obviously was responsible for, so much of the destruction of the Russian fleet there in the Black Sea. pretty cool to see as well. We got a this is part of the World War II Museum. That was just absolutely fascinating. Obviously, so much of World War II that took part in Ukraine and on Ukrainian soil and in that general vicinity. People, farmers, and things just happen to pop up in the soil all the time. So just unbelievable artifacts that you can see on the streets of Ukraine by the street vendors as well. You can get passports. You can get old identification documents. Uniforms like this, motorcycles, everything that you could possibly think of. So if you're a World War II fanatic like myself, Ukraine and Kyiv in particular is kind of like a wet dream, so to speak. But this is, if I'm not mistaken, a Felger. It might even say right there, a Felgermar, which I believe is the military police. If I'm not mistaken, I believe kind of the MP version of the Nazis, if you will. But you can see kind of the gas mask in the back. You can see the fucking St. Bernard style, barrel that they have. Not sure what was in there. That's probably where they placed the remainder of the bodies of the people they killed or something. Who the fuck knows? You can see all of these weapons. The Nazi knives in the background all had the insignia of different units and different, agencies that carried them. You can see, just make out the swastika on the end of that one. But yeah, just fascinating stuff here that you can find in Kyiv in particular in this World War II museum. You can see some of the old planes. I believe this is either an Aleutian or a I'm getting it wrong now. It's either an Aleutian or what was the other one? I'll forget it at this point. I think it's an Aleutian, if I'm not mistaken. Then obviously you can see this huge fucking missile in the foreground there. But let's see if there's other ones. No, this way I want to go this way. This is I want to believe a K-series Russian tank from World War II. Looks very much like a T-34, just much bigger. So I think this was a KS. I think the KS series, if I'm not mistaken, KS1 or KS2, but a very substantial, Russian tank from World War II. I think it had 155 millimeter or 120 millimeter cannon. Again, thinking about the Nazi tanks that we feared in World War II having the 88 millimeter gun on them, this having 120 millimeter cannon. So you can see kind of the, how substantial that is. This is a riverboat, a Soviet riverboat, which with a main cannon on it, which is crazy. But you can see kind of the flat bottom of that. So it gave it a very shallow draft, made it able to get into the shorter, low-level water places that you find in and around the river system. Here's another Russian main battle tank from World War II. I don't know if this is a later T series, K series, or one of the other ones. I think there was in like an IV series as well. I think that's the other one. I don't think that's a T series as well, because that's a pretty substantial thing in and of itself. What else? Oh, you can see there in the background too, the railway gun. You can just make it out here in the background, but this is a double-sided, double cannon railway cot that was obviously towed in one of their, if they were, if Goering or Hitler or Himmler were utilizing the trains that they often use to get from place to place, or, in this case, people in the Soviet Union, they would stick that in the, line, just for added protection while they were traveling as well. But I mean, the size of these fucking things is just absolutely crazy. Here is I believe this is an American. I believe that's based off of the DC-3, if I'm not mistaken. Some of the Lend-Lease equipment that we were sending over, and it was modified by Russia. See here, there's the T-34, which is crazy to see in person. You can see right there, T-34 something B, I think it was, the variant of T-34. But, the tank that won the war for the Soviets in, a lot of respects. Pretty crazy to be standing next to that, really is, as a piece of history. Here's that railway cart that I saw. Look at the size of the fucking main cannons on these things. Just ridiculous. Absolutely asinine, but cool to see. They had a ton of these things standing around as well. Let's see. I think there was more this is from the, let's see. This is from inside the NAFO office space, and I let them a little letter from myself to the entire NAFO community with love and gratitude for your important work. The world is behind you every step of the way. Thank you all for everything that you do. Keep fighting. Slava Ukraini, Boston. Brian, you can see here I'm posing with a 155 millimeter shell that has been inscribed with obviously a different unit from the Ukrainian military is saying from the military. Obviously, you get the Trident on there and a tank destroyer. Is that a tank destroyer? It looks like a tank destroyer. It looks like the turret on it turns, but I don't think it does because you can see here the main cannon there kind of locked up. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. But that was a pretty cool moment to get to see that as well. Olympic Stadium I showed you. Here's a cool moment as well because so many talented people from the streets or on the streets of Kyiv and in Ukraine in general. Take a look at these unbelievable artists that come out on the weekend and display their stuff in the numerous parks and walkways and viewpoints. Like, check this out. This is pretty cool. Not sure what's going on here, but are there this many talented artists on the streets of Kyiv? Look at all this. This is the entire little walk. This is the very end of it too. I don't know what made me wait till the end of it to start recording and showing you guys all of this, but I figured I had to capture it. But just up and down, you can see behind me just the sheer amount of art that is being displayed, and it is all fucking impeccable to the point where I don't know what's real and what's not. You know what I mean? Like, that's just me not being an art connoisseur. I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but it's my untrained eye. It's impossible for me to tell what is like legitimate and exquisite art and kind of like a reproduction or however people go about doing that these days. But it's just, like I said, it's that good. That's the only reason I say that. It's that fucking amazing. The quality of work and the skill and the craftsmanship, drawings and sketches and all of these things. It's just displayed all over the city, all over the fucking city. Viewpoint that I'm on right now. You can see it behind me. Unbelievable stuff. And, of course, I'm no art connoisseur, so I don't know what's real, what's not. Not calling anybody out, but it just seems too good, a lot of it to me. Look at this. I mean, look at that. Like, how does somebody's hand do that? And I'm jealous. I have no artistic ability whatsoever, never have. So again, my untrained eye and not being an art connoisseur, it's amazing to see the levels of talent that you could see on the streets of Kyiv at any given weekend there. But just really cool stuff to see. I know I showed you guys yesterday the moment where this fantastic piano player was serenading us with his talents as we had the ability to stand at this lookout position and gaze over the city. A real emotional moment, if I'm being honest. I've always been an emotional person, but just being in Kyiv, knowing what the people of Kyiv have been through, what the people of Ukraine in general have been through, the beauty of the moment, the mother and son or whoever it was dancing on the side, the fantastic piano playing. Like, it was a very emotional scene, which is why I probably stayed there for about an hour, 2 hours, just listening to this kid play and watching people come and go and watching the scenery around. It's just one of those moments. It's hard to kind of portray or recreate or kind of get across what the meaning was in that moment. And this happens all over the city too. Like, there's multiple places that I went where, and I wonder if I have the video. I don't know if it got uploaded, but I'm assuming a video of another older lady that was playing at another one of these gazebos that just has a piano there. Let me see if I took a video. There's so many videos that I took. I'm not sure if I took one of that or not. There's always these ones where I thought I took a video of it, but ends up that I didn't. Let me see. Bear with me. I wonder if I did. but she was fantastic as well. Like I said, another one of these viewpoints, vantage points. You know, you get to walk through a park and in the greenery and stuff. It was just, you know, a moment that I will not soon forget. And kind of like I said, an emotionally charged moment. There was this another one. No, that wasn't the one. I don't know if I took a video. Like I said, I'll put together some of the best of, if you will, so I don't have to waste any more of your time. But you know, some unbelievable moments. That we'll have a lot of time to go through here. Let's see. Was there anything else? This is. Do you want to hear the kid? Yeah, here we go. Here's my experience on the last, say, hour and a half of our train ride out of Ukraine. Ready? You know, poor kid, whatever he was going through. I felt really bad for him. Inevitably, it was the peekaboo, I think, that I played with him that finally calmed him down. But, you know, I really felt bad for the kid. But at least it was at the tail end, about the last hour and a half of a 13-hour train ride. So it could have been worse. It could have been much worse. But I did feel for him and everybody else that was riding in his cart as well. He was in the you know, the car to the room right next to us as well. But yeah, a lot more videos and photos that we'll have the opportunity to go over and explain in depth. But yeah, some fantastic moments there. Was this another one, or is this the same one that we just showed? I think this is the one where they dance. Yeah, these two. These two dancing. There you go. Look at, he's like, no, you work it like that. There you go. Anyway, just one of those moments that I found, you know, very, very touching, if you will. Obviously some great vantage points over the city. So much of these that we have to go through and talk about. Again, can't speak about how highly I rate Veterano Pizza, keeping me alive basically while in Ukraine. Fantastic. You can see evidence like this, pop marks all over the city of, you know, the explosions, the remnants, the debris, the shrapnel, you know, coming from the Russian missile and drone attacks. So, you know, you're never far from the evidence of the Russian terrorism, much more so this time than my last trip was, you know, is much more evident this time compared to, you know, the destruction and the evidence of the Russian terrorism last time. Is another one of the high rises that has been subject to, I think the missile hit somewhere in this general vicinity. If you can see my mouse on this building, and then this was due to the subsequent fire explosion, you know, just subsequent damage from that. You can see how high up the windows got taken out. You know, obviously looked like a fairly new building, if not a building just being built. There was a nice Brazilian steakhouse that was out of business on the bottom floor there, on the first floor. So yeah, you can see never really far away from Russian terrorism. But I do appreciate you guys. Oh, here's the video. Here's the video. Let me see. I might as well play this in case anybody missed this on my social media feed. This is the video that I took while under a Russian missile attack. Sound up too, if you guys want to hear the, you know, the extent of it and kind of the realistic feelings of it. Turn your sound all the way up right now. Fuck. Uh-oh. That's close. Jesus fucking Christ. That's fucking close. So you can hear me say there that that's fucking close, and it was fucking close, really fucking close, way too close for comfort there. But, you know, anybody that has keen ears or could hear and make out the difference between the interceptions and the actual impacts of it, like the flash that you saw. I don't know if you guys caught that flash that you could see. You see, it was just in the beginnings, I think, here. Yeah, you can see that flash just in the, see how the light, it's lighting up the building in the background there. So you can see that flash. And that flash, I believe, was an impact of an interceptor actually hitting one of those missiles, taking out those missiles, because you can hear the delayed response and the dulled boom coming from that. And then you can hear, obviously, the louder impacts of a missile that got through, unfortunately. But here, see if you can hear the difference in the delay on the between the flash and the sound coming from that.
Uh-oh, that's close.
Yeah, ready? So I'll go back. You can see the sound, impact.
Fuck.
Here's the flash.
That's close.
Now you hear the delay and the subtle boom. Hear that subtle boom? So, and then you can hear the difference in the impacts. Like, listen how loud this next one.
Jesus fucking Christ.
And then the last one is another impact. And you can see me back away from the window because I got a little nervous. So that's an impact.
That's fucking close.
So you can, it's crazy, it's scary how quickly you get in tuned with, you know, how far away it sounds, what the sounds are, you know, and again, there's a difference between the first time that I was there and being under drone and ballistic missile and hypersonic missile attack. The drones, you can oftentimes hear them coming and you can tell if they're going away from you, depending on if the sound's getting quieter or getting louder. Like you could, there's little cues that you can pick up on. No cues here. Okay. Besides obviously the difference in the impacts and the interceptions, that's about all you got. Other than that, it's no warning, no sound. You know, it's just pray and hope that the city's big enough where it's just, you know, the remote possibility that it finds your building in particular at that point in time. But yeah, it's wild to have experienced that. Again, I forget how many nights out of the nights that I was there, we were experiencing missile and drone attacks, but it was, you know, a lot of the nights. It was a lot of the nights. And Phil will tell you how bad the month of July has been in particular for the people of Kyiv, as far as ballistic and hypersonic missile attacks and stuff. But yeah, let me see. Was this another one inside? The extent of how much I was willing to break the rules. You weren't supposed to really photograph or, you know, take any video in there or anything like that as well. But yeah, like I said, we'll have plenty more time to go over more from that trip. I want to answer any questions that you guys have. So maybe on the Sunday show, we can dedicate, you know, maybe the last half hour, 45 minutes or so. If you guys have any questions about my travels, again, I know we're showing and just talking about Kyiv, but this was much larger than just my time in Kyiv. Again, the journey started in Tallinn, Estonia. We drove through the entirety of Estonia. Not that Estonia is huge. We then drove through the entirety of Latvia. We then drove the entirety of Lithuania. We then drove through the entirety of Poland. We then drove through half of Ukraine and into Kyiv, which took us about 36 hours straight of being on the road. Obviously stopping for fuel, food, drink, stuff like that, but never a long stop, never like 2 or 3 hours to recuperate, like straight going, stopping for 10, 15 minutes at most, and then back on the road for 36 hours straight. The most that we stopped was when this happened, when we were stuck at the Polish-Ukrainian border for roughly 8.5 hours, which, let me see, which is when I got this, what I'm thinking is an iconic shot. You know what I mean? But I'm biased considering it's me. But this is when we were kind of stopped for the longest period of time. But even then, it wasn't a break or a rest or anything like that. We had paperwork we had to get in order. We had to find VIN numbers and all the stuff to make sure that we were ready for the Polish and the Ukrainian border guards there. But, you know, I think if we're looking for one shot, if I'm looking for one shot of the trip, one image from the trip, I think this one, and there's a couple pictures from the front that a couple people were taking as well. I'll see if I can get them sent over. But yeah, I think that's a pretty iconic shot. This is the moment as well. We were kind of all lined up at the border. Yeah, so there's a lot to get through, a lot to talk about. Here's Florence. Florence was a huge part of our trip as well. She's a huge member of NAFO, done a multitude of these different handoffs and journeys as well, as have a lot of the different members. So shout out to Florence, shout out to everybody else in Victoria, in Polly, in Thea, and the whole gang. Like I said, there's way too many to try to list, but people that were very influential in this trip and making us feel at home and kind of, you know, showing us the ropes, the people that haven't been there before, or all of these things that, again, they were responsible for doing. So very much appreciated to Florence, Victoria, Gemma, who was fantastic, you know, helped me and you know, gave me a gracious tour around the NAFO office and was so instrumental in getting me all of the gifts and you know, this plaque that you see down here from the 3rd Operational Battalion that I am very, very fond of. I don't know, sorry, the microphone's in the way, but you know, let me put it up. No, stop right there. Oh, there you can see it. There it is right there. So already got that on the wall, the letter of gratitude. So thank you to Gemma for making that possible and setting up the, you know, the exchange of flags and stuff with the 72nd from our first campaign that we had. So unbelievable people involved in this mission, just really showed me what humanitarianism looks like. You know, what people flying from all over the world. Again, here's Thea. She's from New Zealand, my co-driver. 70 years old, just an absolute fucking firecracker. You know, a lot of stories that we could tell from our trip there and 40 hours together in a vehicle. But, you know, I think we're very much alike, which is, again, why at some points we let each other have it. So, you know, shout out to Thea. Hopefully she should be still making her way home to New Zealand from Sloviansk. She went further east. I would have loved to have joined her. But again, with the situation with the train and not knowing when that was going to come and possibly being stuck out there, I would have had to have had that set up beforehand. So not something that I'm against, definitely something that I want to try to experience and report to you guys and get the reality out of the front lines and what these people experience on a daily basis. So, you know, definitely want to make that happen, but it's something that you have to set up in advance. You know what I mean? You definitely don't go open-ended to Ukraine. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. Book the return flight, even if it's a month. Even if you're spending a month in Ukraine, book the return flight, get the train tickets in advance. That way you're all set up, and that way you have a very concise, a very specific timeline that you can follow, and you know how much time that you have. Otherwise, it's kind of, there's too much you know, left up in the air. Let's see, was there anything else? I think that's most of what I had covered here as far as that's concerned for this evening. But yeah, what do you say we get into thanking some people on the Venmo side of things? If anybody was kind enough to send over a contribution, just up here on the left-hand side of your screen or right-hand side of your screen, opposite from me. But, you know, if you could utilize that, typically the quickest and easiest way to get your support, your contribution to the channel. Again, obviously the super chat, super stickers, YouTube memberships, signing up at the Patreon, also great ways in order to help this channel. But let's see here, because we always, at the end of every single podcast, in case you're just joining us, you're new to the channel, at the end of every single show, we go through everybody that contributes, everybody, no matter where you contribute. I thank and congratulate and appreciate every single one of you guys, or at least I try to, if I can get it done right, and the you know, the old technology is working with me. So today, first up, Damon, thank you so much, brother, for the $10 on Venmo, much appreciated. Hugely valued member of the community, as are all of you. Glad they let you back in the country. You know what I was thinking about that, Damn, it's funny that you mentioned that, because it never really crossed my mind once that, like, you know, I could be pulled aside or questioned, especially with the government that we have today and the beliefs and the things that I espouse on social media. And again, I am under no illusions that I am of the level high enough to get noticed by anybody on the opposing side. I'm not that delusional. You know, I don't, I'm not getting high on my own supply like a lot of people are. So again, I didn't expect it, but it's just weird that it never crept into my thinking. You know what I mean? The only time it did is when I was getting back into Boston, and you got to go through the customs, and they ask you if you got money or anything like that. And I could hear from, what they normally do. And obviously I've been through that before, but, they ask you where you're coming from, what you were doing, what your address is, where you live in Massachusetts or wherever you live, just to kind of, see if it matches what the system says. So I knew I couldn't, and wasn't going to obviously lie or anything, but, I was worried about what would the response was going to be when I told him that I come from Ukraine. And the look on his face kind of said it all. He said, where are you coming from? I said, well, last flight that I took ultimately left from the Netherlands, from Amsterdam, but my trip was spent in Ukraine. And he was like blown away. You know what I mean? Like, what, Ukraine? You fighting? Was the first question that everybody asks. I say, no, I'm just helping support the military, brought in vehicles, yada yada. So he asked me, do I have anything that I shouldn't have? Weapons, ammunition, anything like that? $10,000 plus, and clearly I got none of that. So it was just, that was the only time it really crept into my thinking, was at that moment in time. So very strange. So appreciate you for bringing that up, Dame. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you, Geneva. Let's go. Geneva H, thank you so much for the $50 contribution on Venmo. Welcome home. Glad you're back safe. Thank you, Geneva. I really appreciate that. It really means a lot that you guys were thinking about me, worried about me, concerned, whatever you guys were. I really, really do appreciate that. And obviously your substantial contributions that you continue to put into this show are very valued, appreciated. I am very grateful. Thank you guys all so much. So thank you, Damon. Thank you, Geneva. Thank you, Brian H., for your contribution on Venmo as well. Slava Ukraine, Powerade on me. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. I'm in desperate need. So I will put that to good use immediately. Much appreciated to you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you to, and over the last couple of days, I want to say thank you to Suzanne. I want to say thank you to Kathy. I want to say thank you to John, Brian again. And then who else am I missing? Allison, thank you so much. And let's see if there's anybody else that I'm missing. Nancy, obviously a huge thank you to Nancy. Let's get some W's in the chat for Nancy as well. Let's send her some good vibes. Very much appreciate everything she's done for this channel, and obviously for this trip in particular. And she's, I think, facing some difficulties, let's just say, without getting too in depth. But let's see if we can send some good vibes, some positivity Nancy's way as well. Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Michelle E. Thank you, Yakov. Shout out to Yakov. Good vibes being sent your way, brother. Hope you're doing well. Hope your back is holding up. Very much appreciate you and taking the time out of your day. And obviously you got a lot of things going on to be a fantastic mod here. Very valued member of the community. But thank you guys on Venmo. Very much appreciate it. All right, let's get over here to YouTube and say thank you for the jewels and everything. I'm going to look up what jewels are. Does anybody, hold on, time out. What's a jewel? I'm going to watch the chat. I'm going to watch the chat for a minute and a half. What's a jewel on YouTube? Somebody. I'm a YouTuber. I'm a content creator. I got to know these things. I should know these things, but I have not a fucking clue. Not a clue what a jewel is. What the fuck is a jewel? What is it? What does it do? What can I do with it? What is it? YouTube jewels are just another way for YouTube to make money. So is it bad for you guys? I don't want you doing anything that is bad for you guys. Does it benefit you? I don't know what's going on. I don't know. They're like stickers. So what's the conversion? Like what's 10 joules? Because I don't know. I just want to know how much emphasis to put on it. You know what I mean? They're tariff-free diamonds. I just don't know what the fuck it is. Jewels are like Twitch bits. Great. I don't understand those either. I don't understand what those are either. No, they're like emojis we pay for. So where are the emojis? Do you get, does Roxanne get 10 emojis? I'm serious. I have not a fucking clue. This is real. 50 joules for 99 cents. And then I can, what? Do something with the joules? I don't know. All right. Well, anyway, I appreciate the shit out of you guys. I really do. Regardless of what it is, you guys are contributing and participating and engaging. So I thank you all the same. So Sarah, very much appreciate the 100 joules. Big high five right back at you. Thank you to Lisa for the 200 joules. Thank you to Roxanne for the 2 joules. Thank you to Paul P for the $10 contribution. Shout out to you, Paul P. Hello. Thanks for making these great videos and trying to bring us back to reality. Much appreciated, Paul. And again, I'm I'm kind of surprised at some of the reaction in the chat yesterday about my energy levels. I don't know. You guys thought I was going to be like, what, a fucking dead fish when I got back here? Like, you guys know me. Come on. I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm ready to fucking, jib and jab. I'm ready to pop, move, and mock. Let's go, buddy. You know what I mean? Like, I had some pent up shit. I was ready to get off my chest. So, again, I hope I didn't offend anybody, but, some of the statements in the comments from some very valued members of the community just kind of surprised me a little bit. That's all. But thank you to Paul. Much appreciated. You weren't involved in that. Sorry to bring that up while you while you were sending in your contribution. It had nothing to do with Paul, I assure you. But thank you so much, Paul. Much appreciated. Thank you to Mike Greenberg 960 for the 1,000 jewels. Let's go. Much appreciated, you guys. Thank you so much. Really do. So Tina Bradford, thank you so much for the 2 jewels. Silver Star. Let's go. Thank you to Kristen. Much appreciated for the 10 jewels. Let's see here. Matrimargo for the 440 jewels. Unk alert. Am I the unk? I don't know. Are you the unk? I don't know in this situation. I don't know if I'm ready to be an unk anymore. I don't know. You know what I mean? I still feel young at heart, but that's all right. I'm sure I'm going to hit that status at some point. But thank you so much for the 440 jewels. Thank you to Pat for the 6-7. Let's go, brother. Appreciate you. Pat Ludwig, 1971, with the 67 jewels. Sean Tuna, thank you for the 10 jewels and the gold coin. I don't know did you get the gold coin? Or is 10 jewels worth of gold? This is crazy. YouTube, cut the shit. You know what I mean? Let's just fucking keep it simple, stupid. Fucking hell. But thank you, guys. I love you. Let's see here. Gemini. Saw that. Sorry, that last E escaped me. My apologies. But Gemini, let's go. Glad you're home, Boston. Well, thank you so much, Gemini. Much appreciated. Thank you for the $2 contribution. I appreciate everybody's concern and worry. Thank you to Minnie Mouse for the 250 jewels. Laughing Disco. What the fuck does that mean? Oh, I love you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you to Jeff. Much appreciated. Jeff Miller, 1848, for being a member for 23 months. A great flip-flopping sellout soul. Much appreciated, Jeff. Thank you so much. Appreciate you and everybody else in this community as well. Stoneflower Dragon, let's go. Shout out to you. Thank you for the 5. Miss Lindsay would want Ukraine to get licensed for Patriot missile manufacturing. You orange fuck. Hey, that's again, like I said, I'm more than willing to use these circumstances for our political expediency. Like I said, with the Russia sanctions bill passing the Senate, and then obviously as it pertains to the Patriot licensing, more than happy to use these neocons and war hawks and the things that their party believes they would want to see, as long as it benefits Ukraine in some way, shape, or form. So thank you, Stoneflower Dragon. You're 100% right. Thank you to Marsha. Good to see you, Marsha. How are you? Thank you for the 5. So glad you're back, Brian. Thank goodness, Adam. Hi, Suzanne. Healing vibes to unfortunate altar boy. Absolutely. Let's second that in the chat, everybody. Unfortunately, Alyssa popped into the chat yesterday and did say that Tom unfortunately had another heart attack. So if we could be sending healing vibes, good vibes, both of the way of Tom and Alyssa, that would be fantastic. So big shout out, and I appreciate Alyssa for keeping us up to speed and informed in what's going on, but very unfortunate news and circumstances. So sending healing vibes, good vibes, the way of Tom, unfortunate altar boy. Thank you to, and she also gives a shout out to Yakov. Thank you so much. I second that one as well. Also sending some healing vibes his way. Been dealing with some back issues and some other things. So, try to give a shout out and try to recognize everybody that's, going through some things. So I appreciate you guys for taking the time out of your day, going through those, and obviously sending some good vibes and some W's of the way of these people. So much appreciated, Masha. Thank you to Brian again. Welcome home, my friend. Slava Ukraine. Heroyam Slava. Right back at you, Brian. I've been desperate to get home to you guys. Very, 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 very cool and great to be back. It really is. It really is. So thank you, Bri Guy. DPD, let's go. Jared Moskowitz is not to be trusted. Why did he purchase SpaceX stock the day before they traded publicly, considering Murat was the first one to criticize Doge? Not to mention he refuses to show up for any debates. What the fuck? I've been on the Jared Moskowitz hate train, I think, before anybody else, I got to say. I think I've been on that very early. I was on the Jared Moskowitz is a fucking rat weasel piece of shit train. So I second that. I stand 10 toes down on that since the moment he endorsed Matt Gaetz as AG of the United fucking States, since he called himself a DeSantis Democrat, since he's been buddy with DeSantis and Pam Bondi, since he was so fucking quick to get into the Doge caucus, and there's a whole list of bullshit. And he's been a performer, in front of the cameras with the whole James Comer routine and trying to get these zingers across. And he's also one of those people that said, hey, we talk like this in front of cameras, but when the cameras are off, we're all buddy and go get beers together. Well, he can pound sand too. I got to get more up to speed. I should be more up to speed on the Challenger that he has down there in Florida, but I've heard some good things. I've seen some clips of him really standing on business down there, so I'll get more informed and up to speed after, like I said, regaining of some sleep, because that's another thing that's crazy is, you think being in Ukraine 2 weeks or being in a place 2 weeks, you'd be able to adjust to the jet lag, but that's not possible in Ukraine, where the Russians every single night are sending, missiles and drones, and there's air alerts at 10, 12, 1, 2, 3 a.m. Sometimes even into the mornings there. It's just you're not ever allowed or afforded the 8 hours of sleep, right? Unless you're doing it in broad daylight, and even then you're getting air alerts, and sometimes even then it's not fucking possible. So it's just, it's a whole mind fuck to try to get your body adjusted and to try to not feel fatigued and all of those things. So, but yeah, as I start to come back and recuperate and get myself back into the alignment, I'm going to get more up to speed and educated on a lot of these challenges to some of these corporate APAC hacks that have been widely known. So yes, DPD, thank you so much appreciated. To Susie as well, thanks for the feedback, membership, love, barnacles. Let's go, Susie. Thank you for being here for 18 months. Much appreciate you. Roxanne and Tiff, let's go. Thank you guys so much for the 10 jewels to Roxanne, 2 jewels for Tiff. Appreciate you guys. I'll let you go. I appreciate, respect the shit out of each and every one of you individuals that continues to fight on the right side of history, that continues to be, linking arm in arm with the rest of this resistance to try to put down the fascism and the Nazism that seems to be, riddling our government at this point in time in the Republican Party. So if you could hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, that would be fantastic. We're trying to reach 25,000 subscribers before midterm elections. We want to be able to punch with the most weight behind our punches that we could possibly do. And unfortunately, that only comes, I think, with the buildup of the subscriber base over multiple platforms. So see if you could help out. It's free to do so. It's free to like, share, subscribe. If you want to sign up at patreon.com/BostonBrian, you can do that. And again, get involved and, get entered into winning some of these fantastic knickknacks and souvenirs that I brought back from Ukraine that I want to bless you guys with for your support. Your generosity and just, you're being able to accomplish these fundraisers and to make these things possible. So, all right. I love you. I appreciate you. I'll see you Sunday. Get some questions ready. If you guys are curious about any part of my trip or the journey or, the drive or whatever, my extended stay in Ukraine, whatever it may be. We'll see if we can take some questions on Sunday. So big salute to you guys. I love, appreciate, and respect the shit out of every single one of you. Make sure you stay loud, stay proud, stay aggressive. Get the fuck out of your seats and into the streets, because we're just not pissed off enough in this country. My name is Brian. This is Blunt Politics. And like I said, I'll see you guys on Sunday. I think one of these buttons should take me out of here if the technology works correctly. Typically it doesn't. And you'll probably see my face again at some point screwing up this exit. But I do love and appreciate you guys. Thank you. I'll see you Sunday. I'll probably announce the rescheduling dates on this next upcoming Zoom. Right, so by Monday we'll have some dates for the Zooms that we missed for the Patreon. So thank you guys for your patience on that as well. I just couldn't think of his name. My apologies. I've seen a bunch of clips. I've seen some appearances he's done, but I just couldn't think of the name. My appreciation to you, Tiff, and everybody else that was giving me the answer in the chat.
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
Thank you, Shovel Dead. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. 1,000 joules. Let's go. Did I miss some? Am I missing some?
Вітаю,
no,
Бостон
you
Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
The kidney has a very special place in the heart. It's an incredible thing. Yesterday's a hard word for me.
Never fight uphill, me boys. Never fight uphill. They were fighting uphill. He said, wow, that was a big mistake. He lost his great general. And they were fighting. Never fight uphill, me boys. But it was too late. You'll have a group of Venezuelan killers, street gangs, occupying the town with MK-47s. I know that gun very well. I got to know it very well. I've become an expert on guns.
I'm standing up here bashing the living shit out of Nazis.
Brian, you're drunk. You're drunk.
Taking it back to Nevada where he's wanted for banging horses. He says wrecked him, damn near killed him. What in the hell was that all about?
Hey, you got a little chubby going there.
Refer to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. For the rest of my life, I have the curse that I have little hands. Little hands. Here's a thought. Grow a
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
Fill it with some balls.
We're inviting Americans from all across the country to come.